sensei, what did I do?" she asked him between breaths as Naruto walked up to getting down to one knee and hugged her. "Soi, no matter what you do you could never upset us," Naruto said, trying to reassure her as she cried on his shoulder. After a while she finally calmed down where she had occasionally sniff her and there. She then realized that she can finally talk to her sensei. She asked the most obvious one to her. "Sensei, why haven't you visited? I mean, there could be anything important in the world of the living, is there?" "Well," Naruto started as he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. "You see, I kind of left my Zanpakuto here in this very training ground. Now that I mention it, I hope you did not damage it." He looked at the destruction his student caused before he got there. Soi Fan, blushing in embarrassment, "Sorry, I didn't know." "It's alright, how could you know since I didn't tell anybody it's here in the first place?" he told, ruffling her hair as she smacks his hand away. "Sensei, I told to quit doing that," she said, glaring at him. "Oh, lighten up, Soi, you're always so serious, let loose once in a while," he said, looking around and starts to walk in a random direction. "I am not." "Hey, where you going?" she asked him. "To get my Zanpakuto," he told her, as he kept walking, not bothering to look back. Wait for me," Soi yelled out, getting up and ran after her sensei. Just as she caught up to him, he asked her something. "So tell me, Soi, have you been training?" "Of course, Lady Yoruichi, and I've been training no stop since you left, but..." "That's not what I meant. Yeah, it's great you two been training, but I was talking about training at my secret training ground my scroll showed you." "Oh yeah, I have, and let me tell you, it was hard to find even if it showed me where to go." "It would be much of a secret if it was easy now, would it?" "I guess you're right, but still it was hard," she pouted. "Humph. So tell me, how did you like it?" "It was breathtaking. How were you able to grow those trees and find a lake there in the middle of nowhere?" "Glad you like it, and to answer your question, I made them." "How?" "It's one of my powers that only I possess, but anyways, tell me what you learned so far." "With all the time I had, I was only able to learn the Ryotsu clone. So far I can only make 2, 3 if I push myself." "That's good, but I suspected more." Stopping to look around but notices Soi looking at the ground in the corner of his eyes. "Hey, what's wrong?" "I'm sorry I disappointed you, but I'll try hard, I promise," she said, looking at him with determination filled in her eyes. "I know you will, and I wasn't disappointed. I know how you like to push yourself, so I thought you would have learned more since you can use the Ryotsu clones," he told her, seeing the confused look on her face. "You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?" Shaking her head. "Alright, I'll show you, so make a clone." Doing as she told, she made a clone, as did her sensei. Naruto tell their pair of clones to go behind the huge boulder that was by them. "What are you doing, sensei?" Soi asked, completely oblivious to what the clones' real ability are. "Just wait and see." "With the clones? What are we doing, sensei?" Choi asked. "We are going to play a game of rock, paper, and scissors," Naruto told her. "What a game? How the heck is that going to help out?" Choi complained. "Just play, and to make things interesting, if you win I'll give you something." "And that would be?" "I can't tell you. If you want to know, you'll just have to win." "Fine, you're one, sensei," Koi said, both of them putting their fists out. "Rock, paper, scissors," they both yelled, moving their fist up and down after each word. On the last one they each chose a sign for either rock, paper or scissors. Naruto chose paper while Choi chose. "Ha, scissors, I win, take that, sensei," Choi exclaimed. "Yeah, I guess you did." Naruto looked a little worried. "Hope the boss doesn't get mad." "So what was that something you promised?" she asked. "I'll tell you soon enough. As for now, just dispel." Both of them did as he suggested and dispelled. With Naruto and Soi Fan, sensei, nothing hap. She stopped, then a grin appeared on her face. "So I take it you knew what happened with our clones?" Naruto asked, cursing his clone for betting on the game. Now he had to think of what he could give her. "Yeah, you lost at a game at rock, paper, scissors, so what was it you're going to give me since I won the bet?" she said, still grinning over the victory against her sensei. "I'll get back to you on that, but first let's find my Zanpakuto," he said as they started to walk towards the location of Naruto's Zanpakuto. "Tell me, sensei, how did we know what happened between our clones?" she asked, still could figure how she knew. Well, she had an idea but was not 100% sure. "Still can't figure it out, huh?" "Well, I have an idea but I'm not sure." "Alright, tell me what you think you know." "Hey, you never know, you might be right." "Okay, here's what I think, that our clones can somehow transfer what they see and hear back to use once they're dispelled." That's very good. Not only can they transfer what they see and hear, they also do the same for touch, taste, and learn. For example, let us say you are trying to learn a new Kido spell and it could take you about 2 weeks by yourself. By using a clone you could cut that time in half, so it would take only 1 week. Using another clone will cut that time in half as well, only taking you half a week. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So you're saying if I use my clones while I train I could learn a lot fast. Basically. I wish I knew that sooner. But just to warn you, once you can use more clones, be careful. Clones also transfer what fatigue they have too, so try to keep that in mind as well. He informed her. I will. And here we are. He informed her again as the said person looks around only to find nothing but boulders and rocks. Not to burst your bubble, sensei, but all I see are rocks and bigger rocks, she deadpanned. Exactly. What? Oh come on Soy, ninjas must see beneath the beneath. I know they teach you that in Onmitsukido. Yeah, but we're not ninjas. We're a covert operative that specializes in stealth and assassinations, and many other things I don't want to list. Soy Fan said in a matter-of-fact tone. Sounds like ninjas to me. He deadpanned, putting his hands in ram sign, Kai. The boulder next to them faded away, revealing a long black box with the kanji for death on it. A box? You came back for a box? She questioned her sensei. No, I came for my Zanpakuto, which happens to be inside the box. Why would I risk coming back to Soul Society for a box? What do you think, I'm stupid or something? You could have fooled me. Ignoring her replied, suggesting he an idiot. Naruto moved over to the box, kneeling down, opening it, revealing a long silver pole about 5 feet 8 inches long and about 2 inches thick. A pole? You said your Zanpakuto was in there, not a pole? This is my Zanpakuto, it a pole cause it's in its shikai, Naruto stated. You're telling me your shikai is a pole? What kind of shikai is that? She replied, pitying her sensei. Hey, respect your sensei's weapon. But it's a pole. How do you respect a pole? It's not just a pole but a special pole. Here, catch, he exclaimed, tossing it to her. What the heck makes it so special? Ah, Soy said to her surprise once she caught the pole that Naruto tossed to her. As soon as her hands grabbed hold of it, it fell toward the ground, taking her hand along with it. Holy shit, sensei. Why is it so heavy? It feels like 100 pounds. How do you carry it? She asked him, letting it go, then standing up. That's what makes it so special. You see, my Zanpakuto won't let anybody but me wield her. So once someone else gets a hold of her when I'm not, she somehow gets heavier, which I still can't figure, and she won't tell me. He told her, putting one of his fingers on his chin, looking at the ceiling. So what else can it do besides get heavy? That my little bee is a secret. Not many people have seen my true power of my Zanpakuto. Not even the head captain himself seen its true power, and I'm not about to show you. Why not? I'm your student, aren't I? Plus you said you promised to show me something, Soy said, folding her arms. Naruto, hoping she would forget about that, cursed his clone once again. True, but I stayed too long. Yoruichi probably figured out my real reason for coming here besides getting my Zanpakuto, he told her, trying to change the subject but chose the wrong one. And what could that be? She said, looking towards the ground once he mentioned Yoruichi's name. You, Soy Fan. The said woman looked at him, her eyes widen a bit. What other reason do I have? Yoruichi is gone. Yeah, I have a few friends still here, but they will have no choice but to report me. You're my student, my only student at that. Someone's got to look out for you, Naruto said, opening a senkaimon with his pole, which surprisingly it was able to, since it is not in its sealed state or in a shape of a sword. But he was not complaining. Turning back around to see his little bee staring at the ground. Hey, he called to her, but she kept on looking down, so using his new pole staff he raised her head so he could see her face, which looked sad, probably because he was leaving. Don't look so down, it's no a very good look for you. She smiled a bit. There, now that's better. Listen, the next time I came back for whatever the reason, I better hear that you became the next captain of Squad 2 and the Onmitsukido Soshiraken, commander-in-chief. Don't let some wannabe take it, you hear? Hi sensei. She without any feeling. What was that? I could hear you. Hi sensei. She repeats herself but with more determination, and goodbye. Not goodbye, that implies we'll never see each other again. It's more like see you later. Right, see you later then sensei. You too. And with that said, Naruto jumped into the Senkaimon's open doors, leaving Soy Fan and rejoining the others who should be in his training ground if they haven't finished yet, but since they probably don't have anywhere to go, they most likely still there. In the world of the living, NTG. The gates of Naruto's Senkaimon appeared and opened in front of the house he had built, or rebuilt after his inner hollow accident, but the house itself looks like a traditional Japanese house with sliding doors. He suspected Yoruichi would be somewhere waiting for him to return, and it so happened she was, on his front porch. "So how long have you been waiting?" he asked her, stepping out of the Senkaimon. "Once you left," she answered, pushing herself off against the wall. "So, did you see her?" "See who?" he answered, acting innocently. "You know who I am talking about." "Yeah, I know, but you look cute when you get mad," he told her, making her blush. "Shut up," making he chuckle. "But really, how is she?" "She was upset with you. Something to do with a promise you two made." The mention of a promise made her look away from his gaze. "Why would you promise her something like that if you were going to leave?" "I made that promise before I found out what happened to Urahara and the others. You would have done the same thing," she told. "I won't deny it, if I was in your shoes I would have done the same thing, but I would have also taken her with me as well," he answered back. She opened her mouth to say something, anything, but closed it instead, knowing that Naruto was right. She should have brought her with her, but maybe there's still time to get her if she hurried she could. However, Naruto stopped her before she could even act on it. "I know what you're thinking. You think you could go back and get well sorry to burst your bubble, but you can't." "Why not? You told me she upset, and you're right, I should have brought her with me, and it was a mistake to leave her behind." "Well, for starters, I'm not going to let you, and two, I said she was upset, but after I talked to her she turned out fine. I think leaving her behind is the best thing for her. Now she can do things on her own without her mentor and sensei always around. Plus I told her to go after your spot as captain of your squad along with Soshiraken," Naruto stated. "You think she can do it?" "Should I know she can? It's just her confidence holding her back. She was trying to reach our level in power, so whenever she did something right all she saw was how weak it was compared to us, and with us out of the picture she noticed how strong she really is." I didn't see it like that. I guess you're right, I hate that. How can an idiot be smarter than me? I ask myself that every day." "Hey, wait a minute," she chuckled to herself as she witnessed Naruto calling himself an idiot. "Where the heck are Shinji and the other wizards?" "Wizards? What the heck is a wizard?" "That what I'm calling the group. If they beat their inner hollows, they should be able to form a mask over their heads, hence why I called them wizards, meaning masked army. So where are they? Did they leave?" "Makes sense, but now they didn't leave, they're inside, eating whatever they could find. Since we didn't bring any money we decided to eat here. I thought you would mind," she said, but deaf ears heard it since Naruto walked past her once she said eating inside. Sliding the door open. "Who in the hell said you could eat my food, damn it?" Naruto yelled, entering his home, heading to the kitchen, seeing everyone but Yoruichi inside since she was following right behind him. "Yoruichi said we could," Urahara replied. "Since you two are doing it, I figure she probably wears the pants. In the relationship she had more authority over you." "I don't care what she said, this is my house and I wear the pants in our relationship," Naruto exclaimed. "Ahem." Yoruichi clears her throat, making herself known. "Not now, woman, I'm trying to make a point," he said, turning to look at her and back to the said people in his damn kitchen eating his damn food. "Now you listen, and listen good. I want you all out of my kitchen outside so I can kick all your ass at the same time and get some practice using my Zanpakuto again." Everyone in the kitchen just stared at him except Urahara, who went pale as a ghost while Tessai shook his head. "What, you're going to whack us with a pole? I'm so scarred," Hiyori mocked him. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Urahara suggested. "Why, it's just a pole. What can a firkin pole do?" Kensai asked. "Yeah, I'm more scared of Kensai's Shikai than that stupid pole," Hiyori added, making Naruto evener pissed and Urahara go even paler. "Get your asses outside and I'll show you what this pole can really do, and you too, Urahara, for making that comment earlier," he threatened, making the said person gulp. Turning to go outside, Yoruichi stops him. "You're not serious? I mean, they really don't deserve it, do they?" "Fuck yeah, I'm serious. Eating my food is not free and they pissed me off, and Zetsu, my guy, Death Scythe, is pissed off too. Underestimating her is one thing you do not want to do," he told her, walking outside waiting for the others to get out as well. Once the group finally manages to come out, they met up with Naruto, who in an opening just outside of the forest he had in there. "Alright, we're here, so what are you going to show us with you pole?" Hiyori asked as Naruto eyed them. "Hey, we're Urahara?" Looking for him and finding the said person hiding behind Yoruichi as a shield. Fuck it, I'll deal with him later, but for you guys, just to warn you, I'm not going to take it easy on you, he warned them. Oh, just shut your trap already and get this over with sake and go back and eat some more of your food, Hiyori yelled to him. Alright Sume, let's show them what happens when people pisses us off, he said, spinning his pole staff around. Once he stopped, the bottom part of it turned into jet black scythe blade behind Naruto. With any hesitation or second thoughts, he dashed towards them, promising a world of pain. Thinking, someone talking. Kido, Zanpakuto move, Sero. Flashback begins. Flashback ends. Naruto equals Hollow Naruto. Is Hollow Naruto talking? See, Naruto or anyone's name equals a clone of that person. De Naruto equals Dream Naruto. Someone important talking. Someone talking in the background. Is that all you guys have come on? Most of you were captains, Naruto exclaimed to the group of wizards. Well, sorry, we don't have stamina out the wazoo like you do fish cakes, Hiyori replied, answering for the others as well. We've been going at it for 2 hours now, I think it's time for a rest, Shinji suggested. Rest? Are you kidding me? That was just a warm-up, Naruto told them. He calls that a warm-up? Everyone else thought. Naruto, do you think you might be going a little bit overboard? Especially since you used your Zanpakuto, we both know how dangerous you can be with it, Yoruichi informed him. Oh come on, I'm not that dangerous, am I? He replied, mumbling the last part to himself. Not that dangerous? Do I have to remind you that you almost killed Urahara the last time you used it? You even said it was a friendly spare, she exclaimed. Oh yeah, forgot about that, Naruto said sheepishly while scratching the back of his head, making her roll her eyes. But it's been a long time since I had a good spare with my Zanpakuto. Why don't you spare with your clones? She asked. It's not the same. I can predict what they're going to do since they're just copies of me. While fighting someone who has not just a different mind and a way of fighting but different abilities too. In addition, I never had a chance to fight Shinji and the others. Think of my little ass whooping warm up as a little test, he told them. Test for what exactly? Shinji asked with one eye raised. I got nothing. Guess I just want to kick guys' ass for eating my food, so let that be a lesson. First it's a test, now it's a lesson. Make up your mind, you baka, Hiyori told him. Hey, don't call me a baka, Naruto snapped back. Yeah, only I can call him that, Yoruichi stated. Yeah, only she can call me a baka. Wait a minute, you can't call me that either. Naruto quickly corrected himself, making Yoruichi giggle while the others just shake their heads at his stupidity. Sometimes I wonder how you became a captain in the first place, Shinji asked, mostly to himself, but Naruto heard him. I ask myself that too and come up with one possible answer, he replied. I wonder what that could be, Hiyori asked. Simple, it's because I'm awesome, Naruto said while puffing out his chest. Of course that must be how all captains got to where they are, because they were all awesome, Hiyori said sarcastically. That the only reason I can come up with besides Kenpachi, Naruto replied, not noticing that Hiyori was being sarcastic. Anyways, let's move on before you say something else that will make you sound stupid, Yoruichi butted in. Like, what do we do from here? Let's see. Naruto then went into a thinking kind of stance by placing his right hand on his chin. Oh, I know, how about another another warm-up, he suggested. No, the group of wizards all yelled in unison. It was only suggestion, Naruto mumbled to himself. How about someplace to stay? Yoruichi asked him. Well, I do have a house in town where I left my Gigai at, but the only problem is it only has 2 bedrooms. Naruto told them. I could renovate it with my bunchins, it should only take a day or 2 if I use a genjutsu, he thought. That'd be great, but well pass, Shinji said, breaking Naruto's train of thought. Why? He asked. We figure if we don't owe you anything from the start, the better we'll be off. Besides, I am sure the house you have is not big enough for all of us. So we decided to stay at the warehouse, Shinji explained, getting nods from the other Izards but one. I didn't decide. Crap, what makes you think I want to go back to that crappy warehouse in the first place? Hiyori exclaimed. Shinji just sighed and walked over to her. You can go, but you will probably hear him and Yoruichi doing you know what, he whispered into her ear as a disgusted look appeared on her face. I'll pass too, Hiyori said, quickly changing her mind. What did you say to her? Naruto and Yoruichi both asked. Oh, it was nothing, Shinji replied. If you don't have anything else to tell us, we'll be on our way. he said as he and the other wizards started to leave, but he turned back to look at Naruto. Before I forget, I would mind if you could but one of these training grounds in our warehouse, that is if you don't mind. Sure, I'll get on that when I can. Naruto answered as he watched him turn around and left with the others. Once they were gone, he turned to Yoruichi to find her right next to him, but before he could ask what she was doing, she grabbed his fox ears and started to rub them. Ah, that feels so good, he thought to himself as he closed his eyes as they rolled to the back of his head. Wow, I didn't think they would be that soft, she said to herself as she let go of them to Naruto's displeasure. She then moved behind him and grabbed hold of one of his tails. Yoruichi, what are you Naruto's back suddenly arched a bit as the same sensation he felt when Yoruichi grabbed his ears took over once again. His tails are so soft too. I wonder if it hurt to grow these since he never had them before, she asked herself. Naruto on the other hand was in heaven. What he was feeling was something he could never imagine. However, that feeling started to change into something more, and soon Yoruichi would find out as well. In a blink of an eye, Naruto ripped his tail free from Yoruichi's grasp and shocking her as he tackled her to the ground. Both of them staring into each other's eyes, faces inches apart from one another. It felt like time stood still waiting for one of them to make the next move until Naruto went ahead and kissed her. Yoruichi, a little surprised by all this, having no idea what caused Naruto to do this, but it all slipped her mind once he kissed her. Feeling his tongue like her lips, she opened them, granting access for him to slip his into her mouth as the two of them battle for dominance. Naruto pulling back for air with only a trail of saliva connecting the two. He really didn't have to, as he could have pumped chakra into his lungs and lasted a little longer, but Yoruichi didn't have that luxury. Not wasting any more time, Naruto began to kiss her chin and moved down to the side of her neck as she moved her head to the side, giving him more access. While he was doing kissing her, Yoruichi was taking advantage of Naruto's shirtless body with her hands, feeling his toned upper body. She traced his bare chest and abs with her fingers, moving them to his back and doing the same as he kissed down her neck, reaching her sweater and undershirt. Before either of them could remove them, the sound of someone coughing got their attention. As quickly as they could, both of them got up to see Tessai standing there, Urahara nowhere in sight. Thank Kami. Sorry to interrupt, but I know I should have asked you first, Naruto-sama, but I made you both something to eat, Tessai informed them. Thank Tessai, I appreciate it and it's no problem, Naruto told him as he hid his blush. Yoruichi, who was doing the same as Naruto, said her thanks as she walked past Tessai towards Naruto's house, with Tessai and Naruto not far behind. Hey Tessai, could you do me a favor and not tell Urahara about what you saw? Knowing him, he won't let us live it down, he asked him. Not a problem, your secret is safe with me, but if I may ask, what made you two decide to choose to do it there of all places? He asked Naruto, whose blush appeared back on his face. I don't know, something came over me and the next thing I was on top of Yoruichi, and one thing led to another. If you did come when you did, who knows how far we would have went. So I guess I should thank you, Naruto said. Not a problem, but I advise you not to do that again unless you two know you are by yourselves. You don't want who to accidentally find the two of you, Tessai warned him. Yeah, thanks for the warning. 2 hours later, Naruto and Yoruichi acted like nothing never happened. Once they were eat dinner with Urahara and Tessai, who was true to his word at not telling Urahara what he witnessed. The time they spent at dinner was fun, to say at least. They spent usually talking about what both parties been through. Urahara did most of the talking when Naruto asked about what happened in the Seireitei when he was gone, making Naruto laugh at Rose, who was his lieutenant at the time, cursing him for he had to do his paperwork since he was now in exile. Yoruichi asked him a question about Soi Fan, wondering why she would disappear for hours on end, and whenever she did find her, she was either too tired to train or passed out in her quarters. All Naruto reply was that it was a secret and that she will soon find out why she was tired and what she was doing. However, once they asked him what he did once he left the Soul Society, he went silent with a sad look on his face, telling them that he did some odd jobs around town to make money. Which was easy since he had his shadow clones do most of it, hanging them into different people to do more work. Bought the house he would be taking them in the morning, and soon after bought it the Hollows attacked and he built the training ground there, and now, leaving his Gigai with the mod soul inside at his old house, and moved here. He stopped there since they knew the rest. As it was getting late, Naruto, who made some clones earlier before they sat down to eat, and sent them to get some of his spare futons he had at his house in town. Since he was too tired to show them where his other home was, he insisted that they stay there in the training ground. Once they arrived, he ordered them to do the dishes as he set up the futons in a spear room he had for Urahara and Tessai. Yoruichi taking the only bed in the house while he took the couch. While Urahara and Tessai went towards the spear room Naruto set up, he led Yoruichi to his bedroom where she would sleep. Naruto opened the door and let her enter first and watched her look around. To her surprise, it was clean. The room itself was nothing special, just an ordinary room with a window, bed, wooden floor, etc. Seeing her walk to his bed and sit down, her eyes looking at the wooden floors, he knew she was going to ask about what happened earlier today. "Naruto, about what happened earlier?" she asked. "What was that about? You never acted like that unless you know we were going to do it." "I don't know, guess you could chalk it up as something I gained from Kyuubi-chan," he told her. "Kyuubi-chan?" she replied with a little jealous anger and hurt that he never once used a chan suffix with her name. That did not escape Naruto hidden hearing. "I haven't told you about her, have I?" he asked, because, if he did not say the word this right, this whole situation could blow way out of proportion. "No, so who is this Kyuubi-chan?" she answered, but as much loath on the chan as possible. "I knew it," he thought as he mentally sighs, so Yoruichi will not yell at him. "Kyuubi-chan is, or I should say was, a demon fox spirit that was sealed inside me the day I was born," he told her, making her eyes widen a bit as she looked at him to see if he was lying, which he was not. "How is that even possible?" she asked in disbelief. Naruto, who mentally sighs again, knowing he is going to have to explain his whole life, revealing that his is well over 3,000 years old. "Where should I begin? How about I start with the day I was born? Let me see, I think it started about 3,000 years ago when—" "Wait, you're telling me you're 3,000 years old?" she questioned him. "Yeah, what, you don't believe me?" he answered back. "No, but if you were, wouldn't you be old like the head captain Yamamoto?" was her reply. "Maybe, but I think it has something to do with Kyuubi-chan sealed in me, or with the necklace I gave you," Naruto told her. "The necklace? What does the necklace have anything to do with it?" "Well, it is a special necklace. My godmother gave it to me when I won a bet against her, and ever since I died I somehow had it with me. Once I woke up and found myself in the Soul Society, I never took it off. So it could be one of those two," he said as he watched her fish out the said necklace. "If it was from your godmother, why did you give it to me?" she asked him, thinking she had no right to have something that precious to him. "Don't worry, it was my choice and I think it looks good on you, so I want you to keep it," he told her, making her blush. Now, as I was saying, it was about 3,000 years ago when the world was a lot more dangerous than it is now, and everyone were either a ninja or some kind of civilian. However, my tale began on October 10th, the day the Kyuubi attacked my village Konohagakure. I was just a newborn on that day. The leader of the village, known as the Hokage, who would give his life to protect the village and its people by sealed the fox demon spirit inside the only child that was born that day, which also happened to be his only son. Your village leader or Hokage sealed the fox demon spirit inside his only son, which happens to be you, but why not somebody else? She asked him, still could not believe what Naruto was telling her. Yes, and if he couldn't sacrifice his own child, how could he ask another family to do the same? It was a choice only a true leader could make, he said, which made her stop talking, so he went on with his story. Anyway, the only way he could seal the fox's spirit inside me was to use a jutsu called Shiki Fujin. It was a jutsu, which the caster calls on the aid of a Shinigami, which I believe was the first Shinigami before the Seireitei existed, but for it to work the caster of the jutsu, my Oto-san, has to sacrifice his life. In turn he did and ended dying, and with his final breath he wished for his only child to be seen as a hero, not as a Jinchuriku. What is a Jinchuriku? Yoruichi asked. Never in her life has she heard that word. A Jinchuriku means human sacrifice, as the person who is sealed with any of the tailed beast gives up on being human. Give up on being human? Why? Well, that is how I see it anyway. You see, in every village in my time had one or more Jinchurikus. There are 9 in total, and in every village Jinchurikus were treated the same. They despised us, hated, glared at wherever we went. No one cared if we lived or died. All they wanted was us to do was die. I am not sure how others were treated, but one of my closest friends was a Jinchuriku. We both were treated the same. He stopped there and looked over at Yoruichi with her hands balled up into fists. How did your village treat you? She asked, even if it would hurt her. He started at her for a bit, then began to tell her. As I told you, my Oto-san wanted me to be seen as a hero, but the same village he sacrificed himself for didn't care and only saw me as the fox demon and not its jailer. They placed me in an orphanage and had over 456 assassination attempts when I was only a baby. What about your mother? What happened to her? She died giving birth to me. He answered and went back to telling his story. By the time I was 4, the owner of the orphanage kicked me out and I was forced to live on the streets for 2 more years. Looking through garbage either to find a new pair of cloths or something to eat, but if one of the villagers saw me they would either try to shoo me or throw whatever they had or could find. The civilians weren't as bad as the shinobis, though they would track me and hunt me down like I was some kind of animal and try to kill me, but none of them succeeded. All they were able to do was send me to the hospital. You would think that would be one of the safest places to be, right, but to me it is one of the places I feared the most. They were forced to heal me, and if they had a chance, they too would try to kill me if it were not for the former Hokage's Anbu, and before you ask, they're just like Onmitsukido and would kill anyone who would harm, usually. He stopped once he heard the sound of someone sniffing. He turned towards Yoruichi, seeing tears drops fall on her hands. Yoruichi, are you okay? I am fine, I just got something in my eye, she lied. It's alright, I won't tell anyone, besides someone has to cry for me if I don't, right? He said, placing a hand on her shoulder trying to reassure her. I can stop if you want, he asked. No, I want to know everything about you and your past, she asked him, getting a nod from him. Where was I? Oh right, the hospital. They sent me there after every attack, the civilian and shinobi attacks. However, they not as bad compared to the one I got on my 7th birthday. By then the former Hokage, who was like a Gigi to me, bought me my own apartment, but when I got it the villagers broke in and destroyed most of it. Anyway, my worst attack was on the night of my birthday. You see, every birthday I tried to stay with Gigi as much as I could. It was my only safe haven, but before it would get dark I tried to sneak back to my apartment as best as I could. Usually I'd make it, but on that day I had no chance. Flashback begins. It was dark in Konoha and a little blonde-haired blue-eyed boy was ducking and hiding behind trash cans or hiding in the shadows. He was trying his best as a 7-year-old could at least, to hide from the villagers and shinobi that would always be out searching for him. It was worst since today was the day he hated most. It was not because today was the day the Kyuubi death, but because it was his birthday. Since he could remember every October 10th, the beating he received were 3 times as worst. Pant. I'm almost there, only 2 more blocks and I'll be home free. The little blonde whisker face boy said. He has been running, hiding from the wrath of the villagers no stop once he left the Hokage's office. Looking if the coast is clear, seeing as there was no one in sight, he took off as fast as his little 7-year-old legs could. With only half a block to go, Naruto saw his destination, his apartment. It may not be the safest place to be, but it was better than being out in the streets. As he came to the street that his apartment was located, he then skidded to a halt and looked around in fear as civilians and shinobis alike walked out of the shadows holding pitchforks, kunai, broken bottles, anything they could get their hands on. Look what we have here, it's the demon brat, one of the shinobi said. It's about time we end your filthy existence, a civilian called out to the right of the boy. They will honor and worship us for kill the fox demon, another civilian stated. The little boy, who was frightened by all this, slowly started to take some small steps back, getting as much distance away from the death trap that was waiting for him. However, before the boy could turn around and run for it, he bumped into something, making him tense up. Where do you think you're going? The voice behind him said. The small boy slowly turned his head to see who the newcomer was, and to his surprise, it was his sensei from the academy, Mizuki. Mizuki sensei. What are you doing here? Naruto said in fear, as he knew his senseis at academy did not like him either. To finish what the 4th Hokage started, Mizuki replied as he tried to grab the demon brat, but the boy proved to be too fast as he slips right past him and his hand, taking a mad dash towards the Hokage's office, leaving a stunned group shinobi and villagers. Mizuki, who was the first one to notice what the demon brat was up to, yells to the group of haters towards the boy. He's going towards the Hokage's office, we have to stop him, Mizuki exclaimed, snapping the other out of their trance, and followed Mizuki after the boy. Naruto, who was running as fast as his little legs could towards the Hokage's office, the only place where the wrath of the village never dared to attack him in fear of what the Hokage would do to them. All Naruto hoped was he could make it there on time and that the Hokage was still there. The mob behind chasing after Naruto cursed the little demon brat for his never-ending stamina as he kept ahead of them. On seeing the Hokage's office, Naruto started to feel that Lady Luck was on his side, but when something good happened to Naruto, it went away when it happened. "I made it, but Gigi's gone," he said between pants, but before he could catch his breath the mob that was after him caught up to him. "Nowhere to run now, demon brat," called a random villager. "Yeah, time to kill the demon," another one called, getting the others to cheer. "Well, you heard him, kill the demon and free the village from all its suffering," a random shinobi called out. Naruto, not wanting to find out what they were going to do to him this time, tried to run away but felt a sharp pain in his leg, which caused him to fall down. Looking to see what it was, he saw a kunai stuck in his leg. "We're not going to fall for that one again, demon," Mizuki called out, to which Naruto guessed he was the one who threw the kunai. Naruto, not one to give up, tried to ignore the pain coming from his leg. He took the kunai out and tried to get to his feet. Before he could, a sudden blow to the back of his head knocked him out cold. Behind Naruto was a shinobi dressed in black wearing a dog mask. The village and shinobi looked at the Anbu trying to figure out if he was on their side, but they got their answer when the said Anbu turned around saying he did not see anything and shunshin away, leaving the mob to do what they want to the boy, and they did, dragging him by his hair to where they will finally get rid of the demon that plagued Konoha. Naruto, who was waking up, trying to remember what happened. "What was I doing? Oh, the villagers and shinobi were chasing me and something hit me, which must have knocked me out. I had to get out of here," and his train of thought was broken once he felt a huge amount of pain coming from his right hand. "Ah!" he yelled at the top of his lungs. The whole village could hear it, and those who did just ignored it, thinking the demon brat was getting what he deserves. As for Naruto, he was feeling an unimaginable amount of pain. Looking towards his right hand, he saw the cause of all the pain he was feeling. What he saw was a rusty metal spike lodged into his palm, pinning him to a wooden cross. "Ah!" he screamed again as the same thing happened to his left hand. Naruto, who was fighting back the tears that wanted to come pouring out as he did not want to give them the satisfaction of letting them see his tears, was able to stop them so far. Even when they moved the cross, they nailed him to an upright standing position, tying his legs so he could not move them. "It's time to die, demon," Mizuki said as some other villagers poured some gasoline or alcohol on him. The next thing Naruto saw was a man walk next to his so-called sensei. His eyes were red with 3 tomo wildly spinning. "This is for all the people and families you have murdered that day 7 years ago, you demon. Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu. Fire release. Great fireball technique," the no-named Uchiha yelled as he sent a giant fireball straight at Naruto, setting him ablaze. With the pain of having 2 rusty spikes, nailing his hands to a wooden cross along with burning alive was too much for Naruto as he tried to scream but nothing would come out. He was in too much for any part of his body to work correctly, and what made it worst was the fire burning his skin would heal thanks to the demon fox seal inside him, only for it to burn again. The fire from the jutsu burned him repeatedly until he passed out, formed to much pain. Just before he saw what looked like an Anbu with a dog mask on top of building, just watching him, mostly to see him die just like the rest. "Drip, water," he thought. "Drip, did they throw my body down the sewers? Drip, if they did I must still be alive, but if why do I feel no pain? In fact, it feels like I'm floating," he thought to himself as he opened his eyes, noticing that he was floating in what looked like some kind of sewer. "I guess they did toss my body down the sewers. Those bastards, what did I ever do to them? All I wanted was to be acknowledged, to be seen as a person, but I guess you can't have everything as special if you're me," he said to himself as he started to find an exit out of these sewers so he could go home no matter how much he hated it. Exploring the so-called sewer, Naruto eventually found himself in front of a huge caged-like door, kanji for seal on it. Even if he could not read, curiosity got the better of him as he walked through the knee-deep water closer to the door. Just before he got close enough, a giant red-clawed foot shoot out. If he did not jump back in time, the giant foot would have crushed him. "You're quick for someone so small," a feminine voice said, coming from the other side of the cage. Who are you?" Naruto asked, still in shock that he almost been crushed. "You real don't know?" the voice asked him. "If I did, I would be asking now, would I?" Naruto shot back in a matter-of-fact tone. "You have a point," the voice agreed. "I go by many names, but you humans call me Kyuubi no Kitsune, or the 9-tailed fox." The now revealed Kyuubi said, making Naruto's eyes widen as far as they could go as a giant red fox appeared behind the cage. She had crimson red eyes with black slits for pupils, reddish-orange fur, 9 long tails swishing behind her and black-like lips that revealed his sharp canine-like teeth. He. What's with the sudden shock? The Kyuubi said, laughing at its container reaction. It all makes sense now. Naruto mumbled. The glares everyone sends me, the beatings I get from the drunken villagers and shinobi, and why they call me demon brat or fox demon. Why didn't I see it? I so stupid. Finally clicked. Didn't why the village hates you. She began saying, then why don't we destroy it? We can do it together, you and me. We can wipe this place from the face of the earth. All you have to do is release the seal that binds me to you and it will happen. The Kyuubi suggested as a grin appeared on her face. No, Naruto told her, his hair casting a shadow over his eyes. What? Kyuubi yelled, slightly mad that he refused her offer. You heard me, I said no, Naruto repeated himself as he looked at her, his eyes fixed on hers that made her step back a bit. I might not like what the village does to me cause of what you might or might not have done, but I won't resort to destroying it. That will just prove that they were right when they called me a fox demon. Instead, I will prove to them that I am not and will become Hokage just as I always say I would, and there's nothing anybody can and will do to stop me. Datbeo, he told her, saying his little catchphrase in a serious manner than he usually does. The fox just looks at her container, seeing he meant every word he said, which made her even madder, but for some reason deep down inside her gut, she could feel that this little boy could do what he set his mind to if he had the right help, and that was what made her say what she said next. Alright, I'll help you become your stupid Hokage, she said, making Naruto narrow his eyes. Don't look at me like that. For some reason I believe you and I want to see if you can do what you set your mind to. She finished as her body started to glow red and then shrunk down into a humanoid shape. After the reddish glow died out, it revealed a woman about 5 feet 5 inches with long silky red hair that went down her back, ended just above her butt. She had crimson red eyes with black slits for pupils, creamy white skin, and a light red kimono that covered her C-cup that went down to her lower calves with blood red, dark red trimming. To top it off, she also had a pair of fox ears on top of her head and 9 tails swishing behind her. Walking to the edge of the cage, only on one condition, she asked as Naruto stared at her. Taking that as a sign to continue. You have to promise me that once you become Hokage of your village, you will set me free. Naruto's eyes widened a bit, understanding that she would want that more than anything, but why help him out to become Hokage to be set free and most likely to attack the very same village again? How can I trust you won't just go back on your word and attack the village once I set you free? He asked her. We fox demons may be sly tricksters, but once we give our word we never go back on it, she answered him while sticking out her right hand. So do we have a deal? Naruto looked at her hand, then back at her eyes, trying to see if she was lying, and found none. Slowly he moved his hand and shook it. I guess we have a deal then, he said, shaking her hand, smile brightly, making her smile. A real smile that she never knew existed. End of flashback. That was when I first meet Kyuubi-chan. I wish I could have been on better circumstances, but that in the past now, he told her as he lay back on his bed. Tell me, Naruto H, how could you take that from the people of your village like that? If it were me, I would not know what I would have done. Yoruichi asked him. Looking at his ceiling, he thought about what she asked and came up with one answer. I guess I thought of myself as a scapegoat for my village, he answered her just to confuse her. How could you say that no one should have gone through what you did? I don't care how evil they are, she exclaimed, as she could not believe he would do something that stupid. Not even Aizen would do that. Hell, not even Kenpachi would. You're right, you're absolutely right, he said, making her look at him with a raised eyebrow. Think about it, Yoruichi, if they had all that anger towards me or Kyuubi-chan, eventually they would snap and do something stupid. Like attack a friend or family member for the smallest reason. What if that person was a small child, their wife, or someone important to them? I could live with that. After the day I meet Kyuubi-chan and learned why the villagers did what they did, I made a vow that I wouldn't let anyone, I mean anyone, young, old, a baby, hell, even a pet, go through the suffering I went through. No one deserves that, and once I get back to the Soul Society I'm changing how the Seireitei neglects the higher Rukongai levels. You can bet on that, he stated as he got up to his feet. Yoruichi watched him stand up and look her way. You should get some sleep, you must be tired from what you and the other been through, so I'll just leave and crash on the couch," he said as he turned to leave, but she stopped him by grabbing his hand. "What's the matter, Yorui?" he said as Yoruichi interrupted him by kissing him. She parted from the kiss and looked at him. "Now why would I let sleep on the couch when you have a perfectly good bed here?" she informed him. "And after a story like that. Do you think I'm that heartless? I know you may not show it, but I could tell you were hurting inside when you told me about your past." Yoruichi then put her arms over her. "Now are you going to lie down, or am I going to have to make you?" The way she said it to him left Naruto no room for discussion, since she always gets what she wants, and if she ever told him to do something, he did, no questions asked. For some reason he was attracted to women who had authority, probably why he was so interested in Sakura even if she wasn't to him. "Well, what's it going to be unless you're going to stand there all night?" she said as she striped down to her birthday suit, since I have never seen her wear bra and panties in the anime. "Are we going to bed or are we going to do it?" he asked her. "You said it yourself that I must be tired, and for the first time I am too tired to have sex," Yoruichi told him as she got into his bed and patted a spot next her, signaling for Naruto to come over. "Must be a sign of the apocalypse," Naruto mumbled. "What was that?" Yoruichi said, irritated. "Oh, I was saying how good it is to see you body again. Clones aren't just the same as the real deal," he told her. "Shut up and lie down, you pervert." "You're pervert," he replied, making her grin as he lay down next to her and cuddled. "But it is good to see you again," he added as he went to sleep. "Me too," she replied and did the same. Naruto's dream. Naruto saw himself behind what looked like the back of Aizen as he was sitting on his knees writing what looked like a letter. As he crept up behind him, making no sound whatsoever, but he stopped when he heard a voice come from behind the door to his room. With his ninja training when he was alive, he hid in the shadows and disappeared like he was never even there. "Captain Aizen," the voice called out. "Yes, what is it, Momo?" Aizen asked the now identified person as Momo. "I was wonder if I could talk to you," she asked. "Certainly, please come in," he told her, and she then entered his room and sat down on her knees. "Now what was it you wanted to talk about?" "It's about this Naruto character. You seem so infatuated with him. Once you heard he was one of the Ryoka that infiltrated the Seireitei. I was just wondering what connections you had with him," Momo asked him. You are correct, I am infatuated about him. You see, he once tried to kill me," he told her as she made a gasping sound. "I tried to stop him from trying to killing all Central 46. I tried reasoning with him, but he been blinded by the fact that they were corrupted and evil that need to be ended. In the end, I had no choices but to engage him in battle, but it got us nowhere, so I made my escape and ran to tell the head captain about Naruto intentions, and it forced him to run to the world of the living. Since then he has never came back till now," Aizen told her. "What will happen now since he has returned? Will you two fight again?" she asked, a little concern laced in her voice. "We will, but this time I think it will be to the death this time, since he is a criminal and it is my duty to stop him," he informed her. "Die, you can't be serious," Momo exclaimed. "If you died, I don't know what I would do," she said as if she was going to cry. "If it comes to that, you have to be strong, Momo," Aizen said, putting on one hell of a performance. "But Captain Aizen, Momo, you have to promise me you will be strong if it comes to that." "Promise?" he asked her. She looked into his eyes and nodded her, "And promises him." "Good," he said as he checked the time. "It's getting late, why don't you stay here and get some sleep? You have an early lieutenant's meeting in the morning," he suggested, making her blush as she nodded her head again and went to lay down. In a matter of minutes, she was out like a log. He went back to what he was doing before his lieutenant disturbed him. Once he was done, he folded up the letter, placed it on his desk, and stood up. He turned to look at the sleeping form of his lieutenant and frowned and head towards the door, but stopped and turns towards the location where Naruto was hiding and then walked out. His dream then flashes to a scene where Aizen and him are facing each other, then flashes to where Aizen is all beat and cut up. He was also saying something, but he could hear anything. It flashed once more to a scene where Aizen has a deep gash across his chest with his fake Hogyoku in his right hand. He drops it once his knees touch the ground and falls face first. It then showed Naruto walk toward the fake Hogyoku and pick it up. The next thing it shows was as if Naruto was in pain as he falls to his knees, clutching his head, still holding the fake Hogyoku. Then there was another flash, this one showing Naruto in front of a giant bird made of fire. It appears he stopped it with only his Ryotsu. Next, he grabs his Zanpakuto's Shikai form off his back, spins it above his head, stops spinning it, and brings it down. It appears that he did nothing as he placed his Zanpakuto on his back, but then the phoenix-like bird splits in half and dissipates into nothing. He then turns and looks at a short, petite-looking woman, with pale skin, violet-colored eyes and black hair, with one strand of hair between her eyes in a white-like kimono. He then looks at his hand, which was now black, and Shunpyo'd nest to the petite woman and moved his hand towards her chest. The unknown woman's chest opened, like in the anime, and he moved his hand deeper into hers now open chest and grabs hold of some object. Removing his arm from her as her chest closes as if nothing ever happened, Naruto looked at what was in his hand. To his shock, it was the real Hogyoku. Seeing Naruto put it away and grabs hold of his Zanpakuto again and slashes at the unarmed woman, killing her instantly, shocking him and the unseen spectators. Since the Naruto could hear them, it turns around to face them, giving the real Naruto a look at them. He saw all the captains with their lieutenants along with Yoruichi, his future daughter, that orange-haired boy he saw in the future, and some others he never seen before. Naruto said something, which he could hear for some reason, and then a Shunpyo'd over above the first division dug his claw-like nails into his palms until blood was drawn. The next thing that happened Naruto could not explain, as Naruto's blood formed what looked like a see-through red barrier with Naruto in the middle. His dream self positioned his hands down in front of himself at angle while two crimson-red orbs formed in his hands and shot multiple attacks across the whole Seireitei. After his barrage of attacks, he moved to the top of the barrier and put his hands on it. The barrier started to turn less transparent and turn more crimson-red, just like his earlier attacks. Once it was completed, Naruto for once in his dream hears something else besides what he heard between Aizen and his lieutenant. Was what Naruto next attack. Kukyu Gurin Ray Zero. Ultimate Royal Hollow Flash. The attack Naruto was charging up shot off a crimson-red color blast 4 times bigger than a regular Gurin Ray Zero, destroying everything in a 10-mile radius. The sheer destruction of the attack shocked the hell out of Naruto, but before he could see what would happen next, there was another flash, revealing the hooded man from the future, and he began to talk. What you just witnessed was visions I implanted in your mind when I sent you back to your time. It showed you what happened to your future self once he killed Aizen. Even though you only touched the fake Hogyoku which Aizen copied from the real one, its power was still strong enough to corrupt you, and you found where the real one was and how to obtain it. Once you did not see fit to have any ties to your old life, so you resorted in to destroy the one thing that would get in your way. The Seireitei, it was the only thing that could stop you, so you thought. There was one thing you never predicted, and it was the only thing that stopped you. Or I should say, it was the only thing that could stop you. The hooded man informed him. Then what was the only thing that could destroy my future self? Naruto asked him, making the hooded man chuckle. I can't tell you, he answered. Why the hell not? Naruto quickly replied. If I know what it is, then I can keep it if that future does happen. If I tell you, it might change the future even more and it will not exist, he said as he turned around and began to walk away. You will have more of these visions soon to remind you what could happen if you fail, he added, leaving Naruto with more unanswered questions he had. Wait, I'm not done asking you my questions. Naruto yelled at him. Get your hooded ass back here. He kept calling to him, but it was all in vain as the hooded man vanished and another flash appeared, blinding Naruto. End of Naruto's dream. Shot up from his bed covered in sweat, breathing heavily, Naruto looked around, checking his surrounding, realizing that he was still in his room with Yoruichi next to me. Let me remind you that she was still, and with the sudden disturbance caused by Naruto, she started to wake up. Naruto, what's the matter? She said, half asleep. Oh, it's nothing, why don't you go back to sleep? He told her, even though there was something bothering her, but you know him, always keeping things to himself instead of telling others. You sure you look like you had a nightmare? She asked him, shivering from the sudden chill she got from not being covered and the sudden lost warmth she got from Naruto. You can say that, he thought as he got out of bed. I'm fine, but you know you should wear something when you go to bed. You could catch a cold, he told her, seeing her shiver from the corner of his eye. I'd be fine once I get my big bad fox back in bed with me to keep me warm, she said seductively. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'll pass. I think I'll just take a bath and think things over, Naruto told her as he left the room, leaving a confused Yoruichi in his room. Closing the door to his room, Naruto walked down the hallway towards the living room, but not stopping there as he kept on walking to the front door, not even paying attention to Tessai and Urahara telling good morning. Stepping outside and closing the front door, he continued his way behind his house where his bathhouse was located. His bathhouse is similar to an old Japanese bathhouse, but this one can only fit about 4 people. On reaching it, he just went inside after sending a clone to light the fire to warm the water up, removed his undergarment and got in. He sat there for what felt like hours, but in reality it was about 10 to 20 minutes sitting there thinking about the dream he had. Was I really that weak-minded in the future, letting something like the Hogyoku take over? All I know so far is that it changes Shinigamis into hollow, he thought. But the real question is, what else could it do as special in the wrong hands? While that happened, Yoruichi, who tried to go back to sleep like Naruto suggested, just could not get the way he looked off her mind as he left. He looked like something bothered him. She thought it could have been from what he told her last morning, but she could not tell. Tossing and turning, she decided to go find him. Her best guess would be the kitchen, since it has been about 20 minutes since he said he would take a bath. Getting out of bed and going towards the door, forgetting the fact that she was still, or she probably did not care, as she left Naruto's room heading towards the kitchen. Reaching her destination, she only saw Urahara, who took one glance at her and had trail blood coming from his nose while Tessai averted his eyes. Have you two seen Naruto? He said he was going to take a bath and I thought he might be here once he was done, she said, looking around the kitchen. Guess I was wrong. Tessai was the one who answered her, since Urahara's focus was on something else. Yes, we have. He walked past the tuas and went outside, but that was about 20 minutes ago and hasn't been in since. He told her, getting a nod from her telling him she understood. Then she made a beeline towards the door, but Tessai said something else that stopped her. But he had the strangest look on his face. Like something bothered him. Perhaps you said or did something to him. Yoruichi, who thought something similar to what Tessai said but did not really know herself, just shook her head. I didn't say anything. He talked about his past last night and after that we went to sleep. However, when he woke up he had the same look you say on his face, and then he told me he was going to take a bath. That was the last we spoke, Yoruichi said to him. I guess whatever he said to you must have been something he didn't want to remember. Urahara spoke up as he put some paper in his nose. What did he say to you that could make him be like that? He asked in a funny-sounding voice caused by the paper in his nose. Yoruichi's eyes saddened as she remembered what Naruto told her. I rather not talk about it, she told them as they could hear the sadness in her voice. Instead of talking, Tessai and Urahara just nodded their heads as she walks towards the front door and walked out. Outside she could sense Naruto's Ryotsu coming from behind his house, so she headed in that direction. Opening the door to his bathhouse, she was surprised he made it that big, even if her clan's bathhouse was 2 to 3 times bigger, and that was just for one person. At least it's spacious, she thought as a grin appeared on her face as she thought what the two of them could do with that much room. Walking up to the door to the bathhouse, she opened and found Naruto sitting in the water staring at the wall in front of him, unaware of her presence. So without hesitation, as if she had anyone akin to getting in a bath with a man, she made her way in the water and sat behind Naruto, putting her slender but toned arms over his shoulders, making him jump. Yo Yoruichi, I didn't sense you there, he said, completely surprised as she caught him completely off guard. The great Naruto with his guard down. Now I know there's something wrong, she stated, making his eyes look down at the water. She could feel it in the atmosphere in the room that something was bothering him. Do you want to talk about it? She asked him. He was silent as if he did not hear her at all. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm not going to force you, she told him. He could how concerned she was about his well-being. No, it's not that, it's just, forget it, you probably won't believe me anyway even if I told you, he told her with a sad look on his face. Yoruichi, feeling kind of hurt that Naruto would think she would not believe him even if she did not know what it was that was on his mind. Don't throw me out just yet. How would you know? Just tell me, and even if I didn't, at least you were able to talk to someone about it, right? Now come on, you can tell me while you wash my back, she told him, at the same time grabbing a washcloth and putting it in his hand, then moved in front of him, her back facing him. Why do I have to wash your back? Naruto complained. I mean, I'm the one who's feeling down here, shouldn't you be the one to wash my back? I could, but would you make a lady as beautifully and sexy as yours truly wash your back? And besides, it will kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You tell me your story and I get my back washed by one of the most wanted bachelor in the Seirei, Yoruichi told him, grinning the whole time. Okay, always you're back. You are lucky you're pretty and I am for women. Naruto surrendered to Yoruichi's proposal as her grin got even wider as she won. Naruto then went on and told her about his dream, not leaving about any detail but tell her about their future child. Little did he know that she actually did want children, even if she tells everyone that she does not. Her reason was she wanted to find the right man and not scare them off, even if most if not all the men in the Seireitei, hell, all the men in the Soul Society weren't scared of her. However, she found one man who was not intimidated by her reputation, position, rank, whatever reason you could think of. He didn't care, he only saw a person, a human, spirit. Once they were together for a while, she wanted to ask if he wanted kids, but she was too afraid to ask, and he already knew the rumors that she did want any, so she never asked. Anyway, Naruto told her everything but about their future child. He even told her about what he saw when he went inside his supposedly door to darkness. Yoruichi was to say, shocked to hear something crazy as that, but in some way she believed him. Maybe it was because they were together, or it was because she actually believed him, who knows. Well, that's everything, so do you believe me? I understand if you don't, he said. I believe you, she said as he was still talking. Wait, what did you say? He asked her, making sure he did not hear her wrong. I said I believe you. I can't think of a reason I wouldn't, and you never lied to me in the past besides peeping on me while I was bathing. Even once my servant caught you too, you still denied it. She told him as she turned her head a bit so he could see her narrowed eyes looking at him. Wait, that wasn't my fault, I swear. Naruto defended himself, waving his arms in front of him. Urahara asked if I wanted to train with him, and you know me, I never pass on training. Therefore, he told me to meet him at your clan's house, so I did. The next thing I know, he takes me to peep on you. I swear I'm telling the truth. Yoruichi's eyes softened as she turned completely around facing him. I know, was all she said to him, making Naruto mouth gape. Then why did you beat the shit out of me when you knew I was telling the truth? He asked her, making her shrug her shoulders. I guess I was mad and didn't think it through, was her answer this time, making Naruto fold his arms. That's a stupid reason, he replied, slightly angry. You're one to talk, she shot back. What stupid things have I did? He asked her. She just stared at him. Do you really want me to answer that? Naruto returned the stare, but he then put his head down in shame. No, he answered, then looked back at her. But why bring it up in the first place? He added, making her smile as she moved closer to him and kissed him. Because you look cute when you act like that, Yoruichi told him, making him turn his head, hiding his blush. I could not think of the word for it. If you know what I am talking about, please let me know. Yeah, right. He replied, it's true, why else would I do it? She said as she used left hand to make him look at her. Once they locked eyes, she moved his face closer and kissed him again, but this time with more passion. Naruto moaned when her tongue slipped into his mouth as they tongue wrestled for dominance. His demon blood kicked in and he switched position, moving her body, picking her up and placing her on the edge of the bathing pool, making her yelp in surprise at the sudden movement. Breaking away from the kiss, Naruto looked at her body, watching drops of water slid down from her neck down to her. Just as he was about to make her his again, a rumbling sound echoed throughout the bathhouse, interrupting them. A groaning sound came from Naruto. Man, even my stomach is blocking me, he complained. We can always ignore it and continue what we started, Yoruichi suggested. No, it will only distract me and it will only get louder. Sometimes I wonder if it has a mind of its own, he told as he got out of the bath and helped Vixen up to her feet. Grabbing two towels, one for Yoruichi and the other for himself, he wrapped his around his waist while she wrapped hers around her body, covering from her down to mid-thigh. He motioned her to follow him as they made their way back to feed the beast known as Naruto's stomach so it would shut up. Reaching his front door, Naruto opened it, moved to the side and bowed a bit. After you, Yoruichi-chan, he said, grinning when he added the chan suffix at the end, making her eyes widen a bit, and smiled. She felt good when she heard it, and what made it even better was it from him and he meant it. Thank you, Naruto-kun, she replied, smiling when she saw his reaction as she walked inside with Naruto right behind her. After Naruto and Yoruichi got dressed, they went to the kitchen looking for anything appetizing, but he could find anything, and the group of wizards ate the rest of his instant ramen. Man, all my ramen is gone and there's nothing else to eat, Naruto whined. There's some fish in the freezer, or icebox, Yoruichi suggested. But I don't want fish, I want some ramen, he complained as Yoruichi looked at him. Is that all you eat? Ramen? I know it tastes good, but be real, it's not the only food, there are more, she told him. Yeah, but other foods don't compare to the food from Cammy herself, he stated as Yoruichi rolled her eyes. The way the noodles and broth mix so well together, and add some pork or beef, hell, I'll add both just to give it that extra meaty flavor, Naruto added as some droll slipped past the corner of his lips. And the best part is when you drink the broth. Shut up, you're making me even more hungry than I am now. Beside, where are we going to get some at anyway? She asked. Well, there is a ramen shop in town that I made Kurone, Japanese for clone, work it just so he can learn to make ramen when I come over. We could go over to my other house, the one I going to take you guys yesterday, he told her. Then what the hell are still doing here? Let's go. Thanks to you I am starving. And who the heck is Kurone? She asked him. Oh, he is my mod soul I kept in my Gigai. I gave him that name since he looks just like a living clone of me, hence his name is Kurone, and today so happens to be his day off, Naruto told as he had a big smile on his face. Finally deciding what to do, Naruto made a clone to inform his mod soul that he was coming and not alone too. He gathered everyone outside, had them all grab hold of him, and used Shunkin Ito, instant transmission, to their destination. As the reappeared in front of Naruto's first home, at the Urahara shop from the anime, Yoruichi ran away from the group, barfed what little food Naruto made her eat before they left. She asked why, but all he said was that she would need it, so she ate it. Urahara, who was doing better than Yoruichi, didn't vomit this time, but he still felt sick to his stomach. Once the aide woman felt better, she walked back over to Naruto and punched him in the arm hard enough for him to rub it. He still wonders how she was able to hurt him. When others try, they end up hurting themselves. She asked him why he did not tell her that would happen. He just replied it would be funny, and she punched him even harder that it left a bruise. A bruise that did not heal at all. Now he was wondering how strong she really was when she was mad. He thought about it, as they say women are a whole lot stronger when they are in labor, and the one thought made him go pale, paler than Sai and Ulquiorra combined. Forgetting that thought ever came across his mind, he led them inside to introduce them to Kurone, who was now in the middle making them their food. Therefore, Naruto made some clones to help while the others made their way to the living room to wait patiently, which was not one of Naruto's strong suits. About every 5 minutes he would ask if the food was finished and kept on getting the same response. No, but that did not top him until Yoruichi cracked her knuckles and shutting him up for the remainder of the time till it was finished. Kurone made enough food to feed a small army, literally, with Tessai, Urahara, and Kurone having about 3 to 4 bowls each, the size bowls from Ichiraku ramen, while Yoruichi had about 80 bowls and Naruto capping at a whopping 100 bowls. The other 3 were wondering where they put it all since they never gain any weight. Man, that hit the spot. You're getting better, Kurone. Naruto praised Kurone on his culinary skills as he rubbed his stomach. Thank you, Naruto-sama, Kurone said, accepting his compliment. Yeah, that was the best ramen I ever tasted. You should open your own restaurant, Yoruichi said. Thank you, Yoruichi-sama, but if I open a shop people would know I am not human since I don't age, therefore I work instead since I can always quit and get a different job without anyone noticing, he told her. You have a point. Yoruichi agreed with his logic. Well, anyway, Naruto said, getting everyone's attention. Yoruichi, I have something I want you to do, he said, mostly to her, getting a raised eyebrow as a response. I want you to go back to the Seirei, he asked her, making Tessai, Urahara and even Kurone eyes widen, but the said woman was furious, slamming her hands on the table as she stood up. Naruto did not even flinch or back down when she glared at him. What the hell are you talking about? I am here for 1 day and you tell me you want me to go back just like that? She yelled at him, making the others get up slowly and leave the room. What do you want me to do? Go? Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry for helping 10 criminals escape to the world of the living. I hope you can forgive me, Yoruichi told him. If I go back they will most likely kill me. I thought you loved me. I guess not, since you. Don't you ever say that, Naruto yelled as stood up. I would never send you to your death. I be damned if I let anyone touch you or threaten to kill you, he said to her as his eyes turned from blue to crimson, making her step back a bit. And don't you ever say I don't love you. I would give my life 1,000 times over if it were the only way to keep you safe. So please, his eyes returned to normal and his voice softens. Don't say that I love you and I will always love you, he told her as he put his head down looking towards the floor, but brought it up when he felt Yoruichi's arms wrap around him. I'm sorry, she whispered to him. It's okay, the reason I want you to go was so you can keep tabs on what is going on in the Seraiti. I would go myself but have to get used to my new powers and keep it under control. Since Urahara and Tessai are banished from the Soul Society along with the group of wizards, so they were out. That only left you, and I knew I can trust you, and plus you were captain of Squad 2, commander-in-chief of Onmitsukido. He told her his reason he wanted her to go back. Why didn't you just say that and not sounded like you didn't want me here? She said to him. But I am flattered you give me too much credit. It's too easy to sneak into the Soul Society, even the Seraiti, so you don't have to worry about me, she added, making Naruto smirk. With that said, Karun cleaned up as Urahara and Tessai wandered around the place they would be calling home, while Naruto and Yoruichi went to his room to do you know what after Naruto put up a sound barrier around his room. The next day, so how long do you want me to stay there? Yoruichi asked Naruto as he opened a Senkaimon in his training ground. About 50 or so years, he answered as turned to face her. What 50 years? I'm starting to think you want me gone, she replied, the others agreeing with her. It'd sound like that, but it's not. I want you to have every detail about everyone I told you about. I can't take any chances, alright? He told her, and she understood what he meant. Alright, but I better not hear from you over there. If I do, I'll come back and kick your ass myself before the Gode does. You got it? She warned as Naruto gulped and nodded his head. Yoruichi walked toward the Senkaimon just before she was about to enter. Naruto stops her. Yoruichi, wait, he called to her as walked towards her. Yeah, what is it? She asked, but was surprised when he kissed her. As he backed away, he did a few hand signs and placed his right hand on her chest where she kept his necklace hidden under her shirt. With the said necklace started to glow. What was that for? Yoruichi asked him, wondering why his necklace was, since she knew the kiss was a good luck kiss. I know you probably don't need it, but I put a Ryotsu blocking like barrier on my necklace. For short, while you carry that necklace nobody will be able to sense you. Better safe than sorry, he explained to her. Thanks, she said as she jumped into Naruto's Senkaimon, and after a bit it disappeared. Naruto just stood there staring where his Senkaimon used to be as Urahara walked up to him. Tell me, did you say all that yesterday just so she would go? He asked him. Yes, and no. Naruto answered him, she knows why I asked her to go, and I need her to go so she wouldn't be in the way. I know my training is going to be dangerous and I didn't want her for that. Now I want to ask you a question. Alright, shoot. Urahara changing his mood into a happy one. Why did you make the Hogyoku and what can it do? Naruto asked him as he tuned to look at him. His face was as serious as he could make it. And I want the truth. Sign, alright, but we should go inside, this will take a while, Urahara told him. T has been 85 years since Naruto and their others saw Yoruichi leave through the Senkaimon Naruto made. Within those years Naruto been training his ass off, trying to understand and control his new powers. He did change over the years, but not by much. He did not grow, but his hair did. It was down to his mid-back, which he keep in a ponytail, just like Jiraiya. The two bangs he had were now past his shoulders and his muscles were slightly bigger, but not by much. However, he did learn a lot for his training, finding out he could use every chakra element, which was good because it kept him busy and his mind off Yoruichi. The only one he could not control was his dark chakra, as it was among the strongest chakras, and the only real way to control it was to have a dark heart, which he doesn't have, or at least his think he doesn't. Besides training to control his new chakras and fox abilities, he almost has complete control with his new wizard's powers as well, with a little mishap here and there. If you're wondering what kind of mishap, let us just say he blow up half of his already destroyed training ground where you can't even see the bottom off where he lost control. Other than that, he did build an underground training facility for Shinji and his group like they wanted. He asked if they wanted to look like his, but pass, as it would take longer since they wanted to get their new powers under control ASAP. Naruto also learned the truth of why Urahara made the Hogyoku and why Aizen truly wants to get his hands on it. In addition, why it took over his future self. He could not believe that so much power a little orb held, and if Aizen could find a way to use its full potential, it would be the end of the way of life. Once they left and he built the training ground for the wizards, he added a few rooms to his house in town with a training ground there too. Urahara asked why he made an extra room for Yoruichi since they both are going to be sleeping in the same room anyway. His only response was he knew what he was doing and there was a reason for what he was doing. With that, He left to begin his training, never heard from for 85. Not hearing from him got some of the others worried, so when they went to check him they could not even find the entrance to his training ground. Therefore, they figure he did not want to be disturbed while he was training. Since he didn't want to go outside to the surface, or I should say he can't with all the training he went through, he developed too much Ryotsu which he couldn't suppress it all, so I say about 1/4 of his power would still leaking out of his body. He considered using his Gigai but figured it'd be destroyed since it was made to suppress a captain level soul, and he knew for a fact he was no captain level anymore. He say he now equal to the head captain's Bankai without his Zanpakuto, maybe even higher. So he would have to ask Urahara to make him a special made one just for him. Since Karun was good to have around, he would let him keep his old Gigai. His only choice was to use Shunkin Ito back to the training ground at his new home, since the one he was living at he destroyed in his training section. Well, this place looks like shit. No, let me rephrase, that shit looks like a flower compared to this place, Naruto said as Naruto looks at what is left of his so-called training ground, and since whatever he sees his hollow sees as well. This place looks like a fucking meteor hit this place. Naruto had to agree with his inner hollow. The once beautiful training ground he had reduced to nothing but rubble. The green grassy plains burned, scorched hell. The ground itself was tore out of the ground. The lake he had dried up from the intense flames from his foxfire along with his fire jutsus he practiced. Yeah, all that time it took to make it, now it useless. Naruto said he was a little disappointed. He really liked this place, but with all his demonic chakra he used, he doubt anything would grow back. Anyway, what are we going to do about your other problem you seem to have trouble with? Naruto asked him. What problem? I don't remember having any problem besides trying to use my dark chakra and some of the more advanced hollow moves. Naruto replied, not really sure what Naruto was talking about. Are you kidding me? You nearly made a Senkaimon just to go find the queen? Naruto exclaimed, making Naruto's eyes widen bit. Oh, you mean that? Yeah, I'm not sure what I am going to do about that. Wait, what the hell do you mean we? It is my problem, not yours, he told his inner hollow. Oh come on, you two had your fun, so why not let me have a crack at her? Naruto suggested. Hell no, how about I just go in there and kick your ass just for thinking that? Naruto shot back. Calm down, it was just a suggestion. You don't have to bite my head off, Naruto said. Well, keep your suggestion to yourself, get it? He told his inner hollow. Yeah, let's just get out of this dump before she wakes up. Naruto warned Naruto, who just realized that it was just his hollow talking to him. Oh crap, I forgot she was sleeping. She gets cranky when someone wakes her up, he said, his voice cracking a bit, fearing she might wake up. Yeah, so quit standing there and get moving before she, Naruto started to say. Will you two shut your fucking mouths? My Kami, all you two do is arguing about some stupid little thing like who is going to fuck who. If you put too much power it will kill us or blow the place up. Kami, all I want to do is get some damn sleep. Is that hard to ask for? An angry female voice yelled in Naruto's mind, making him sweat a bit. If there is one other person besides Yoruichi he feared to make them mad at him, it was his Zanpakuto Zeta Sumigai. She might not be able to kill him because he cannot die in his inner world, but never stopped her from trying. If Naruto kept count on how many times she tried, which he did, it would be over 9,000. Just kidding, it was more like 569 times, which is still a lot if you ask me. Ah great, the Wicked of the West is awake, there goes all our quality time we had. Naruto said, not really caring she now was stand next to him. This is what is happening in Naruto's mind, but he cannot see what is going on since he not in his inner world. As for what Zeta Sumigai looks like, she is about the same height as Yoruichi with white long hair that ends at her mid-back. Two long bangs that are parted and frame the sides of her face. Something like Sephiroth or Aerith from Final Fantasy VII. With creamy white skin with green eyes, which was weird, but it could be worse, she could have had pink hair. She uses to wear a white kimono that covered her B-cup and went down to her mid-calf, but after seeing what Yoruichi wore, she decided to change her outfit to something similar. She kept it the same but changed the color of the orange sweater to red so if blood got on it wouldn't stain. Also she could maneuver better but only wears it when Naruto and her train. She would have asked why but knew it reminded him of Yoruichi and he didn't need to worry about her while he trained. What the fuck did you just say? Sume said as her face was getting madder by the second. What, are you deaf? Okay, let me say it slow for you so you can read my lips. Naruto said as he cleared his throat. Ah great, the Wicked of the West, he said slowly until she punched him in the face, sending him into a couple of building. You fucking whore. Naruto exclaimed as he got out of the rubble his was in. It's on now like Donkey Kong. He added as he dashed towards her, his own scythe materialized in his hands. The same as Naruto and Tsume, but the blade is white and the staff is a black-red color. Oh, so we're using weapons this time. Tsume said as a smirk appeared on her face with her own scythe materialized in her hands as well. Let's hope you're better than fuzzy fish cakes. If not, this is going to be one hell of a one-side fight. She taunted him, get him mad. I'll show you a one-sided battle, you good for nothing of a weapon. Naruto yelled at her as he positioned his scythe behind him and swung it in front of himself. Soniku Surashu, Sonic Slash. A black thin crescent moon-like attack went straight towards Tsume, who stood there waiting for the attack. Just before it was about to hit her, she jumped over it, shooting the same attack he used at him as his attack hit the build behind her, cutting it in two like it was nothing. Naruto did not wait as she did, instead he ran straight towards it. Just before it was going to hit, he swung his scythe, cutting her attack in half and jumping at her. Clang! She blocked his attack by placing the staff of her scythe where his scythe blade and staff meet, just barely dodging his scythe blade as it was at the side of her face. Looks like you've been practicing when I'm sleeping, haven't you? She asked him with a smug look on her face as he said nothing, but the look on his face said it all. He was mad that she blocked his attack. What cat got your tongue, or is the baby scared he is going to get his ass kicked by a girl again? She said in a mocking tone, which made him even madder. All right, you asked for it. Hope you like this new move Hokage and I made, he told her, making her raise an eyebrow. Zero ha. Sero's scythe blade. Naruto's scythe blade started to glow crimson red, extending his reach about a half a foot more, cutting Tsume's right shoulder, but that was not what shocked her. What did was his attack cut her scythe in two where the staff touched his blade, causing his scythe to slice into her even more as blood sprayed out as he pulled it free. The two fell back to the ground, Naruto landing on his feet while Tsume did the same but fell to her knees, gripping her wounded shoulder. That not fair, you used your hollow powers. Tsume complained, making Naruto laugh at her. There is no such thing as fair in love and war, so the answer is, he said as he saw Nido, sound ceremony, behind her, his scythe blade placed on her neck. Do you give up? She smirks. Don't know, do you? She asked him, confusing him as he looked down and saw her broken scythe, not so broken as it was in her right hand, in its blade's tip right under his precious, making his sweat a bit. Hey, that's not fair, I didn't threat you. He cried as she moved it more, making him start to sweat even more. Weren't you the one who said there is no such thing as fair in love and war? She shot back, making him glare at her. So what is it going to be, tough guy? She taunted him, but he did not give her an answer. It can be your pride, whatever left of it that is, or your balls. So she left Naruto in a tough stop. He could win, keep his pride, whatever he did have left, or lose the one of the thing every man never wants to lose, so his choice was obvious, right? Tsume turned to see the fear on his face, but all she saw was his smirk. What the hell are you smirking at? She asked him. Oh, it just that you forgot one thing? He replied, making her raise another eyebrow. And what is that? She replied as she thought she was missing something very important. It very simple, you see, Hokage and I are very alike, we both can, he informed her as she derived a conclusion and realized what he meant. Make bunchins. Another Naruto said in front of her, making her turn, seeing the real Naruto pointing his scythe at her, charging a Sero at the top of scythe. Forgetting the one thing that made Naruto so hard to fight, she forgot he could do the very same. I should stop picking fights when I wake up, she thought to herself. I guess you finally beat me. And it's about damn time too, it took what, 5 years or so to do it, Tsume said, giving up. Oh, shut up, Naruto replied as his Sero dissipated along with his scythe. That much pleased her. She would not show especial in front of him how scared she was to be that close to one of his Seros, seeing what it could do, and it directly she did not want to think what it would have done. However, he did, surprised. Right before she was going to get up, he put out his hand for her, but she smacked it away. He rolled his eyes and helped her up anyway. She let out a hiss in pain as her shoe was still bleeding. He looked at her and noticed her right arm was covered in her blood. I'm all right, she said, but he did not listen as he placed his right hand on her wound, making her hiss again. She was about to tell him to leave it alone, but saw his hand turn black. She was going to say something then, however, a cooling sensation took over, making her close her eyes, letting the feeling take over. She did not see it but could feel her wound healing by whatever he was doing. By the time she knew he was done, he took his hand off her shoulder to her displeasure. Opening her eyes, she saw his looking into hers, making her face heat up as she fought back her blush. He said 2 words she never thought she would hear coming out from his mouth. "I'm sorry," he said to her in a soft tone, making her eyes widen in surprise. "About cutting your shoulder." He finished and turned around, leaving her there slightly confused by his actions, but smiled as she watches him walk away. I guess he does have a soft side to him, she thought as she too turned around and went back to wherever she stays at in Naruto's inner world. With Naruto, who tuned out his 2 inner voices as the 2 fought, he was used to things like that happening, and over the years he learned to tune them out since the 2 fought like that almost every day. However, something was telling his he might have missed something important, but shrugged it off as he would ask them later. Since he did not pay any attention to them, he decided to go have a talk with Urahara about making him a new Gigai. So here, he is in the underground training facility he built before he left to do his training. Man, this place looks like no one even uses it. What the heck does Urahara do all day? Sleep? He thought as he looked around. "Ah, Naruto, what a surprise to see you." A familiar voice called out to him. 5 years and you couldn't even drop by to say hi or have a cup of tea? I'm hurt," the voice said, and if Naruto looked back, he would see the said person hold his heart as if he was hurt. Naruto just rolled his eyes. "Shut up, Urahara," Naruto said, revealing the voice to be none other than Kazuki Urahara, ex-captain of the 12th Division. "But still, why have you come by? You know Yoruichi." Once he said her name, his heart stopped, thinking the worst happened. What happened? Is she alright? Is she hurt? If anyone hurt her, I will go to the Seireitei and kill whoever it. Naruto stated, releasing half of both his Ryotsu and chakra as his eyes turned crimson red. Urahara on the other hand was barely able to keep his balance, feeling Naruto's Ryotsu and what felt like Ryotsu, but at the same time, it did not. "Nah, Naruto, calm down, nothing happened to her," Urahara struggled to say, but it seemed like it got through to him as the pressure lifted. "Sorry, I just thought that she," Naruto apologized as he went to check to see if Urahara was okay. "It's understandable. You love her more than your own life and would destroy the world to get her back," Urahara said between pants. "You're damn right I would," he agreed with him as Urahara stood upright. "As I was going to say, was Yoruichi came by to give us report but wanted you to be there when she informed us, but since none of us had heard from you, she did the same as you did. You know, I think you two were made for each other. I mean, come one the same taste and color. You both could eat like no tomorrow and not gain a pound, and could kill anyone who hurt one another," Urahara stated, making Naruto rub the back of his head sheepishly. "But I'm getting off topic, so do you want to know what she said?" he asked her. "Of course, but first I need to ask you something," he asked, but Urahara just raised a hand. "If you're asking about a new Gigai, well, you're in luck. I just finished one just for you and I can hold back your huge amount of Ryotsu," he told him, making his mouth open in disbelief as he knew exactly what he was going to say, pulling a fan out of nowhere. "Judging by your reaction, I would say I was right," he said while laughing at how he could predict people's thought before they could ask them. "You know, that is somewhat freaky that you're able to do that," Naruto told him as he just shrugged it off. "Hey Tessai, can you bring down that new Gigai for me?" Urahara yelled. "Sure thing, boss," Tessai replied as he jumped down with the Gigai in hand and noticed Naruto was there. "Ah, Naruto, it's good to see you again, and the new look is good too," Tessai said, making Urahara notice it too. "Yeah, it grew when I was training. I guess I was too busy to cut it as it did not bother me too much. However, now that you mention it, do you think you can give me a trim since I will be staying here for a while?" he asked him. "Sure thing, I'll get my things ready," Tessai told him as he put the Gigai down and climbed up the ladder, but Urahara still wondering what Naruto meant staying for now. "So what made you change your mind about staying?" he asked him. "Oh well, you see, while I was training I kind of destroyed my training grounds and my house was destroyed in the process, so since this is my only home left, I guess I thought I would live in it." "That's not a problem, is it?" he explained while asking a question. "No, it's your house after all, you can do whatever you want," Urahara replied. "Good, then I will get my hair cut and take a damn bath," Naruto said as he got into his new Gigai. "A little stiff, but I can break it in ladder. So tell me what's happened so far," he asked him. "Nothing really important, but Yoruichi's sudden appearance. Oh, I almost forgot, Karun got a new job," Urahara said as Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Really, where?" he asked, not sure if he was going to like his answer. It was a surprise to us when we found out, but when he told us he said he felt he should get a job there. More like he had to, for something was going to happen and it would help out soon," Urahara explained. "Well, just spit it out already," Naruto told him. At a hospital, Urahara told him, making Naruto eyes widen as what Urahara just told him replay in his head. "It was a surprise to us when we found out, but when he told us he said he felt he should get a job there. More like he had to, for something was going to happen and it would help out in the near future. Does he somehow know? If so, how? I never told anybody about her," he thought to himself as he spaced out, making Urahara wonder how the news affected him. "Naruto, Naruto." Urahara called to him but got no response, so he gave him a light shake, making Naruto jump. "Are you alright? You kind of spaced out there. Something wrong?" he asked him. Naruto saded at him for a bit. "No, everything is fine, so let's go. I really want to get his hair cut," Naruto said, getting a nod from Urahara. "I don't know how you could keep your hair like this, Ero Sennin, pervy sage," he thought as he and Urahara walked towards the ladder. "Oh, and Urahara, I was wondering, where do you keep popping those damn fans out of?" Naruto asked the question everyone wants to know. "Out of my sleeves. I keep about 2 or 3 there. If I lose one I have 2 backup ones. Pretty clever, huh?" Urahara told him. "Pretty stupid if you ask me," Naruto replied as Urahara makes another motion as if he was hurt. "That stings that you would think of that," Urahara said as one hand over his heart while the other stretched out in front of him, making Naruto roll his eyes as he climbed the ladder. 1 hour later, an hour passed by since Naruto arrived and got his hair cut. Back to it was when he first arrived to the world of the living. After that he took what Urahara called a shower, as the humans now took, but he didn't care. Not many would if you have not taken a relaxing one in about 50 or so years. Once he was done, he of course stuffed face on whatever food he could find in what the humans called a refrigerator. Now that he thought about it, he'd been away from the real world for a while. They have a lot of new thing, like a box that is moving pictures, one that shoots out cold air, moving metal boxes on wheels that transport humans to where they want to go. Other things changed as well, like the building. They were taller and rectangular. The beds have changed too. However, one thing that kept Naruto happy, they finally made an instant ramen that only took 1 minute to make instead of 3. To him that was like a sing from Kami herself for rewarding him from his hard work, which he cried and got on his knees and thanked her, making the other sweat drop. Then Naruto and Urahara sat down around a circular table while Tessai made some tea as he came back and placed it in front of them, then went back to what he was doing prior before Naruto came over. "So do you want to know what Yoruichi told us, or do you want to wait till she gets back?" Urahara asked. "It depends on how old the information is," Naruto replied. "Well, it was about 40 years ago," he answered Naruto's question. "Then the answer is simple." "No," Naruto told him, getting a raised eyebrow in response. "Would you like to explain?" Urahara asked. "It's simple. What would info old as 40 years do to help? The only good info is if it is fresh and reliable, and since I trust Yoruichi, I would not say the info you have is not reliable, but a ninja cannot just attack with information he knew years ago. Everything changes. Take the world of the living for example. 80 years ago most of whatever I seen never existed, and I bet you when Yoruichi told you what she knew, then I bet no, she would tell you something that would take the info you have right to the trash. So what I'm trying to say is I will wait until she gets her," Naruto told him. "Wait till who gets here?" A manly voice said that Naruto did not recognize, making him going ninja mood. In a blink of an eye, Naruto was on whoever thought they could sneak up on the great Naruto Uzumaki. Well, they thought wrong. Grabbing whoever it was, Naruto was shocked to see it was a cat. A black cat with yellow eyes. A cat? Are you fucking kidding me? A fucking cat was able to sneak up on me? Was all that training even worth it if a fucking cat? A cat, for Kami's sakes, was able to sneak up on me?" Naruto exclaimed as Urahara and the cat were laughing at his antics. Since Naruto was in shock by a cat was able to sneak up on him, he never noticed the necklace around its neck and see it transform into a human spirit. "I didn't mean to hurt your feeling, Naruto-kun," a feminine voice said, making the said man do a 180 as his eyes widened, seeing Yoruichi. It wasn't just a regular Yoruichi either, it was a Yoruichi which made Urahara's nose bleed, but Naruto on the other hand moved towards her and in an instant he swept her off her feet as she yelped at the sudden action. Yoruichi was surprised what Naruto just did, not sure what he was planning, but she had an idea. Naruto, what are you doing?" She asked him but got nothing in reply as he walked to what would be their new room and opened it. As he walked in and closing the door behind him, he took Yoruichi, places her on the bed, and looks into her eyes as she did the same. Something in Naruto started to raise, something that he'd been suppressing for almost 80 years all came out, all at filling his eyes with lust. Yoruichi, who noticed this, was a little scared as she watched his eyes change from his normal blue one to crimson red. Moving back a bit, she tried to talk to him. Naruto, are you all right? She asked but still got no answer as he raised his hand and said something and the walls glowed purple then went back to normal. She remembered what it was, he called it a privacy jutsu, which got her even more scared than she was now. Before she could say something, Naruto was on top of her shoving his tongue in her mouth, but something was wrong, it was missing the passion he put behind it. She tried to push him off her but he was too strong. She stared to panic and tried harder, making Naruto growl at her antics, grabbing her arms and pining them above her head and glared at her. What is wrong? Don't you love me? I thought after 80 years you would like to. Naruto started to say in a more demonic voice but stopped once he saw how frightened she was with tears forming in the corner of her eyes. Get a hold of himself, he got of her and went to a mirror that was in the room and looked at his reflection. In his Gigai, he should look like a normal human with no ears or tails. However, what he saw was the exact opposite. He saw his ears and felt his tails also, seeing his eyes changed to crimson. Something similar happened like this when he was training. He had an uncontrollable urge to mate and it drew him crazy that he almost opened a Senkaimon just to find Yoruichi if it were not for his willpower to subdue it, but seeing Yoruichi drove him over the edge. Since she was now in arm's reach right there next to him, there was no Gode 13 to stop him, but now he did the one thing he swore he would let anybody do, hurt her. Yo Yoruichi, I'm so sorry. I did not mean for that to happen. It was just I. Naruto tried to explain but he failed to find the right words, so he just selected to and leave it at that. Yoruichi, who was still a bit frightened by his earlier action, started to see the real Naruto return as his ears and tails disappear. Once he started to talk, she heard his voice change to normal. She did not hear what he was trying to say but she did catch the last two. I'm sorry, Naruto told her as he slowly got up with his head held low. He didn't want to see that look that he used to get from people when he was alive. Once he went 8 tails to save his village. As he walked towards the door, he heard Yoruichi's voice and stopped. Naruto, wait. Yoruichi called to him as he stops but he does not turn around. What is it, Yoruichi? Naruto asked. Where are you going? She asked him. What does it matter? I say the look you gave me. It was just like the ones they gave me, he replied. What look and what do you mean by the ones they gave you? She questioned him and this time he turned around but did not make eye contact. The ones my villagers gave me when I used Kyuubi-chan's power to save Theme. Once they saw it they gave me that exact same look you did just because they saw that power, something you just witness. In addition, because they were scared of me, my friends turned on me and then they banished me. That was the reason I wanted you to go to the Soul Society. I didn't want you of all people to see what I was like. Yeah, you seen me in my spirit form with my fox eyes, but you never seen me lose control like you did just now. I could see it in your eyes, you were scared of me. That was the only thing that stopped me from doing what I was going to do to you, and because you probably won't look at me the same, just like my friends and those damn villagers. All they saw was the demon. So again, I'm sorry. Naruto said as headed towards the door. Once again stopped, but it was Yoruichi's hand that stopped him, which he looked at her and saw she was mad, which confused him. How dare you compare me to you stupid villages? They probably could not wipe their ass if someone did not tell them they could. I'll admit I was scared when I saw you like that and was afraid you were going to me, she said, not making Naruto feel any better. But you stopped once you saw how scared I was and knew what you were doing. If it was anybody else they would care. All they would thought I would be another whore that got what was coming to her, she told him, which mad. Don't ever call yourself a whore, and if someone ever does I'll kill him, he told her as he stated to get even angrier, but when Yoruichi placed a hand on his face, he calmed down. See, a demon wouldn't say that, would he? She asked him. But Yoruichi, I am a demon, was his reply. Shut up, that's not the point. The point is you knew you hurt me and you stopped. If your villagers and friend couldn't see you were trying to protect them, well, they were never meant to have someone like you now, did they? She told him. I guess so, but he never finished as Yoruichi kissed him. Do you ever stop taking? She asked him as she pulled him towards the bed. But Yoruichi, what he said as she pulled him, making him fall on top of the bed as she climbed on top of him. Like you said 8 years ago, it is all in the past, she said as she kissed him before he could protest, and it seemed to work as he relaxed, closing his eyes, enjoying the kiss. I love you, Yoruichi. I love you to Naruto, she said in a low tone, which he figured she must have fallen asleep. Grabbing what looked like a blanket, he covered the both of them and went to sleep. 2 weeks later, it has been 2 weeks since Naruto, Yoruichi had sex, and she thought something might be wrong since she missed her last period. Therefore, she asked Tessai if he could get something the humans made called a pregnancy test, and of course he did, and half an hour later Yoruichi was in the bathroom following what it said on the box and waited. Pacing back and forth, as she waited, one thing was on her mind. What if I am pregnant? He will be there for me, right? He will not leave, right? But I do not know if he wants kids. Oh Kami, let it be negative. She prayed as she waited long enough and checked the test. I'm pregnant. 1 week later. It has been about a week since Yoruichi found out about her pregnancy. It did not take her long to accept that she was pregnant, but what she was afraid of was how she was going to tell the father of their unborn child. Whenever the two were in the same room, she wanted to tell him, but every time she tried she get that butterfly feeling in her stomach and make any kind of excuse to leave the room. Naruto, being Naruto, really did not pay attention to how she was acting, but did find it strange when she would be in the kitchen or the living room by herself or with Tessai, Urahara, or Karun, who by the way looks just like him. At that point, he got suspicious to why she would avoid him and not his old guy that looks exactly like him. Finally, being fed up with her constantly trying to avoid him, he went looking for her and found his purple-haired vixen in their room just about to lay down. He did not know that pregnant women tend to sleep more once they're pregnant, and found it wired for the active women. He always knew to sleep this early since it was only 7 and still daylight. Entering their room quietly, closing the door just as she was finished changing into her PJs that consisted nothing but a black t-shirts with a red swirl in the middle which she took from him, but he didn't care, and pair of panties. She untied the orange ribbon she uses to keep her hair in a ponytail and let her hair fall back down as she folded the ribbon, placing it on the dresser. Running her fingers through her hair, she felt a pair of eyes watching her, which was normal to her with a body like hers who would not stare. However, she knew whom those eyes belonged to and knew that this conversation would happen eventually, letting her arms fall over her sides, and she turned to face him. So, how long have you been standing there? She asked. Not long, about a minute or two. He answered her as she stood there as if she was waiting for him to say something. Yoruichi, can I ask you something? He began. Here it comes. She thought to herself as she nodded, knowing what he is going to ask. I just wanted to know why you were trying to avoid me. Was it because I said or do something wrong to make you mad at me? He asked, waiting for a reply, but she kept quiet. If I did, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do whatever I did. And I promise not to do again. Naruto apologies for something he did not know or do. Still getting no response from her, Naruto lowered his head. I guess you're still upset for what I did. I don't even know what I did to upset you, but it must be something bad since you will not talk to me. He said to her as her turned towards the door. I'll just leave you alone then. Yoruichi, who kept quiet, afraid she might say something to make the situation worse, and listened to what Naruto asked, even if she knew he was going to ask something like that, and of course, he placed the blame on himself instead of others. She wanted to say something, but nothing came to mind. She knew he did not do anything well besides getting her pregnant, but other than that he did not do anything. However, choosing to keep quiet seemed to make the situation worse than it probably should be. But hearing him say he would leave her alone, she knew she had to say something to stop him. If she kept trying to put this off, it will backfire when she starts to show that she indeed was pregnant, and will give Naruto a reason to hate her. Naruto, wait. She finally manages to say something, halting him in tracks. You didn't do anything to make me mad, it's just, she said, trailing off. Just what, Yoruichi, he said in a low voice, and then turned to face her completely. If I did not do anything to hurt you, then why you're trying so hard to avoid me? He finished, raising his voice a bit. She could feel his pain laced in his words, how much she was hurting him by avoiding him and not telling him why. I am afraid, was her answer, which only seemed to confuse him. What are you afraid of? He questioned her. I am afraid of what you will do once I tell you, she said, breaking eye contact from him. If there is something you have to tell me, then go ahead and say it. He told her, but this time it was in a more calming tone. I can't think of anything that would make you afraid of what I might do. Naruto was right, she did need to tell him while she had the chance, but that butterfly feeling came back, though it was stronger this time. She could feel what she had eaten an hour ago in the back of her throat. Swallowing it back down, she summoned up the courage to tell him. What I am so afraid to tell you, is, that I am. Yoruichi started to say, making eye contact with Naruto again. Hoping with every fiber in her body, he would not leave her for what she was about to reveal to him. Pregnant. She finally told him, seeing his calm eyes widen as the seconds went by. As for Naruto, that one word echoed through his head when he realized what she said. His eyes widened even more, but instead of saying something, he just sat down on the bed. Yoruichi relived to get that of her shoulders and finally tell him, but it only left one thing: what he will say, do. All she could do now was wait to see he will do, but that still did not stop her heart from racing, almost giving her an anxiety attack. Watching him walk towards the bed and sit down saying nothing was not a good sign for her. It just made her think the worst. So what you're saying is that you're pregnant? Naruto repeated what she said. How long have you known? When he asked her that question, her breath caught in her throat. I have known for a week now. Yoruichi answered, seeing him narrow his eyes. I was going to tell you, I swear, it's just that I. She quickly tried to defend herself, but he stopped her as he stood up. If you knew for a week, why wait till now to tell me? If you were pregnant with our unborn child, you should have told me sooner, he exclaimed. I was going to, but every time I would try I would get scared, she told him. Scared of what? That I would leave you? Naruto asked the question she had on her mind the moment she found out about her pregnancy. Not getting a response from her, instead, he got silent nod. What kind of man do you think I am? I would never leave you to take care of our unborn child. He said, slightly mad for her to think he would do something stupid like that made his blood boil. However, he quickly calmed down. It was not the time to get mad. It may have taken a week to tell him, but at least she did that, had to count for something. After calming down, realized that Yoruichi had her head down, even though he did not notice, but it must have taken a lot of strength and courage to tell him that she was pregnant. At the same time thinking he would leave after she told him and have the said person get mad at her. Yeah, it must have been a rough week for her. Sighing, Naruto walked over to her, placing a hand on her shoulder, giving a light squeeze to reassure her. She in turn looked up at him. I am sorry I raised my voice and got mad at you, even though I probably should have, but now is not the time to get mad because I'm going to be a father, she said to her with a smile on her face. So you're not mad? She asked him a stupid question. That's a stupid question. How the heck could I ever stay mad at you? That is like asking me to quit eating ramen. It never going to happen. Naruto replied with a stupid-looking grin on his face as he took off his shirt, dropping it on the floor. Yoruichi was relieved knowing that Naruto would leave her anytime soon. She then notices him taking his shirt off. What are you doing? She questioned him as he moved towards the bed. Well, seeing as you were going to take a nap, I thought I would join you. Can't have the mother of unborn child sleep along now, can I? He replied with a smirk. You don't have to, she told him. But I want to. Naruto finished, leaving no more room to argue as he scooped her up bridal style and laid her on the bed and cuddled with her. As they both were on the verge of sleeping, Yoruichi remembered something. Before I forget, I wanted to ask you about a mark on my right shoulder, she asked as she was not sure how it got there or why it was there. What does this so-called mark look like? Naruto replied, trying to think of what she might be referring. It is a fox with 9 tails, she was saying, making Naruto open his eyes. Now that I mention it, you have 9 tails and it's in the same place where you bit me. Where I bit here? He thought. When did I ever bite you? Naruto asked her, forgetting the night he bite her 3 weeks ago. About 3 weeks ago when we were having sex, you bit me on my right shoulder. I noticed it about a few days ago and must have forgotten to ask you about it, she informed him. Have any ideas why it's there? Recalling what he did that day, she was right, and he did bit her, but he could not figure out why. Ignoring her last question, he tried to remember what Kyuubi-chan told him about becoming a demon. Then it hit him, he knew why he bit her and she might not like what he has to say. Yeah, about that. Well, you see, in what I am going to tell you I quote from what Kyuubi-chan told me, so don't get mad at. He told her, then began to explain. Before I would have become a demon like I am now, she told me of the changes I would go through. The first and obvious one was I would become a demon with huge amount of chakra. The second one, if I can remember right, it had to do with something about having a strong desire to mate, which we proved 3 weeks ago. The third one I cannot remember, but the last one I do, and it is about that 9-tailed fox mark on your shoulder. The mark is the mark of the Kyuubi. and is only given to the one I choose to be my alpha female, male if he was a woman. Naruto clarified why she had that mark on her shoulder. You choose who you want to be your alpha female. So you could have more than one partner or mate as you call it. She questioned him. Yeah. Naruto said, a little too happy, making Yoruichi elbow his side. Ow. Oh, I mean that is if you let me, of course. He said, quickly changing his answer. Don't get your hopes up anytime soon, she said, sounding a little mad. Don't worry, I am loyal to you and you only. He told as let out a yawn that caused her to yawn too. I hate that. Rubbing her belly with his left hand, he smiled, thinking of what their child will look like. Yoruichi does not, but he sure did. Just think about it, in about 8 months we'll be parents of a beautiful daughter. Naruto said, let the cat out of the bag, as Yoruichi hummed in agreement but realized what he said. Wait, did you just say we'll have a daughter? She asked him, but the sounds of his light snoring told her that he was already sleeping. She stared at him for a bit over her shoulder, shaking her head. She went to sleep. About 8.5 months later, the last 8 months have been one of the hardest for both Yoruichi and Naruto. Well, mostly Yoruichi because she was pregnant, they told the others, which they congratulated them. A couple days later, Yoruichi started to clean the entire house from top to bottom. Naruto asked her why, but all she said was she had an urge to clean and did not know why. Of course, he helped. He cannot have her hurt herself. In the end, he told her to take it easy while he fished cleaning the house for her. That was just the beginning. Once her morning sickness began, waking her up all hours of the night with Naruto at her side rubbing her back. There was only 2 things Naruto hated. One was the craving she had and sent him on wild goose chases for if they did not have what she wanted. Some of her craving consisted like crushed ice with sprinkled dust or onion and bananas, a grilled cheese sandwich with baked potatoes, chicken sandwich and lemonade, Marmite on some ice cream, pickles with peanut butter and fried eggs garnished with mint sauce. That were just some of her cravings. However, he did catch her licking the walls and trying to eat some chalk. Where she got it, he had no clue. The second and worst one, when she started to get her mood swings, he found himself every day thinking of the right words to say to her, because the last time he did not got him a fist to the face. She asked him out of the blue if she was getting fat, which her belly started to show a little lump. Naruto, other hand, being honest, flat out told her, yeah, you gained a few pounds in the past week. After that, he watched what he said to her. Then there was her uncontrollable bladder forcing her to use the restroom more than usual, but the worst by far when she went into labor. Ah! Yoruichi screamed, echoed throughout the room. Luckily Naruto was able to put one of his private barrier jutsus before she went into labor. So far, she'd been in labor for the past 6 hours. Since Karun was a doctor that worked at the hospital, they did not have to leave the house. Okay, Yoruichi-sama. I need you to take some deep breaths, and when I say push, I will need you to push. He instructed her as she complied with what he said. Naruto was standing right next to her, wiping any sweat that formed on her face with his free hand as his other was in her death grip. Okay, Yoruichi-sama, push. He instructed, which she complied, again giving another push. Alright Yoruichi-sama, the head is crowning, I need you to push as hard as you can. Giving one more push as hard as tired body could. She was rewarded with the sounds of a baby crying that put a smile on both her and Naruto's face. Karun, after cleaning their baby, wrapping it up in an orange blanket, and turned to the new 2 parents. Congratulations, Naruto-sama and Yoruichi-sama. You're now proud parents of a new baby girl. He informed the both of them as he gently placed their daughter in Yoruichi's arms. To her surprise as well as Naruto's, once they got a good look at her, seeing that she had a pair of purple fox ears on top of her head, Yoruichi felt something move a bit towards the bottom, thinking she had a tail too, or it was the baby's legs moving. The baby looked exactly like a clone of her mother Minnie's the fox ears, and had the same whisker marks on her face like her father. The baby a small yawn and opens her eyes, revealing she had a pair of ocean blue eyes she got from her father too. So, do you two have a name for her yet? Karun asked the 2. Yoruichi, who has given much thought about a name but could never come up with a perfect one, turning her face to the father of their daughter and her lover. What do you think we should name her? She asked him. Naruto already had a name picked out for her, so he did not give it as much thought as Yoruichi, but her still had to wonder how his future self came up with her name. How about, we name her Asa? Naruto suggested. Yoruichi thought about, for some reason it felt just right, as if the name was for her. In addition, the meaning behind the name fit as well. It's perfect. Asa Shihu and Uzumaki, our little bundle of joy. she said with a smile, rocking her baby back to sleep. Naruto, who released the barrier letting Karun out, walked over to the window, notices the sun had just raised. He then realized how he would have come up with his daughter's name. Born at dawn, I guess it is perfect, he said to himself, turning to face the two people he would give his life for in a heartbeat, sound asleep. Walking over towards them, he gently picks up Asa from her, then places her in a crib that they bought for her. Heading back over to Yoruichi, he covers her body with their blanket and kisses her on the forehead, then leaves the room. Going to his living room, he spots both Urahara and Tessai along with Karun sitting down waiting for him. "So how is she?" Tessai was the first to ask. "She is doing fine, just a bit tired so she fell asleep," Naruto answered him. "I don't blame her after what she went through. Who could? I don't care what you say, women are something else. How they can give the miracle of life is beyond me," Urahara said while stating his ideal of what women are capable of doing. "But you're able to make souls yourself, isn't that the same as giving life?" Karun asked him, since he was the one who created him. "That's true, the concept is the same, however, the souls we made have its limitations. As for a soul that is made from two individuals, have no such thing. Let us take you for example. I have made you to be one of the strongest and smartest mod souls, however, you are only as strong as the Gigai is able to take, and if that Gigai destroyed, you are nothing but small green pill," Urahara began. As much Karun wanted to say something, but he knew he was right with all he could do. He was nothing but a pill without a Gigai. Urahara was going to continue, but Naruto stopped him and placed a hand on one of Karun's shoulders. "So what if you are nothing but a pill? I am grateful he made you," Naruto said, giving Karun's shoulder a reassuring squeeze. "If he didn't, who would have helped deliver my child? Maybe Tessai. I'm sure as hell wouldn't trust Urahara," he added, giving the said man a dark glare. "He already gets enough seeing her from time to time, and there is no way I'll let him see that," he finished, put emphasis on that. I'm hurt that you would think I would use that situation as an opportunity to look at Yoruichi's no-no area," Urahara said, acting as if he was hurt. "What kind of man do you think I am? A perverted one?" Naruto shot back dryly, making him glare back at him. However, he then smirked. "You're one to talk, and besides, if I wanted to see that, I would do it fair and square," he replied, pushing his demon friend's buttons. "If they weren't sleeping, I would kick your ass right now," Naruto threatened him. "You could always use your private jutsus," Karun suggested, making the blonde demon give a tooth grin. "That way you wouldn't disturb them." Urahara cursing Karun as he saw Naruto put his hands in a too familiar hand sign. He had to act quickly or feel a whole lot of pain. "About that, does that jutsu conceal Ryotsu too?" he asked, trying to save his ass and get one of his questions answered, killing two birds with one stone. "What?" the blonde-haired demon dumbfounded as his hands halted. Urahara, releasing a sigh of relief, went on and explained his question. "It's just that I didn't sense any Ryotsu coming from your daughter once she was born, so I figured that your jutsu has a Ryotsu concealing abilities. Or did you put up a Ryotsu barrier too?" he explained to him. "Now that you mention it, I didn't sense any either. Maybe it is because her demon blood or something," Naruto said truthfully, since he did not know. Urahara, on the other hand, found it bizarre that two of the strongest Shinigami's he knew offspring would not release any trace of Ryotsu. He suspected, like most child when born, to release a small amount but not to release any. That was strange that he might have to look at her. There was never a demon Shinigami before, and to have one have a child with a Shinigami. Who knows what she will be capable of, and will most likely have hollow powers too, thanks to her father. "I am gonna have to look at her," he told Naruto. His face and tone was serious, making the said person a bit nervous. "What do you mean? Is there something wrong with her?" Naruto asked, thinking the worst for his daughter, and Urahara not answering him made it worse. "I asked you if there is something wrong with her?" he asked again, raising his voice. "I don't know," said Urahara faintly, but Naruto's ears heard it clear as day. "You don't know? You're telling me you want to look at her and you don't know why?" said Naruto, getting angrier towards his blonde-haired friend, knowing he is hiding something. "Don't try to sugarcoat this. If there is something wrong with my daughter, just fucking tell me." However, Urahara kept quiet, so Naruto walked over to him, picking him up by the collar of his shirt roughly. "I said tell me, damn it," he exclaimed, his eyes changing to his crimson ones. "I'm telling you the truth. I don't know. There was never a demon Shinigami before. You?" Urahara told him, making Naruto gasp a bit. "What do you mean by that?" asked Naruto, as he did not comprehend what Urahara tried to tell him. That there was never a demon Shinigami before. I do not know how one becomes one or what it could do. You being the first, I didn't get to observe you enough to understand what's so different between us. He began as Naruto let go of him. So there might be something wrong with her then, is that what you're trying to tell me? Said Naruto in a low tone, lowering his head as his hair was covered his eyes. Most firstborn release a small amount of Ryotsu when they're born, it's just that she didn't, Urahara told him as Naruto tuned and walked back towards his room. But what if you were right and has to do something with her having demon blood? He tried to tell Naruto, but it fell to deaf ears as he kept walking and entered his room. Do you think Naruto-sama will be alright? Asked Karun as he never seen his master like this. Don't know, the last time he was like this was when he made Yoruichi cry. Urahara told him as he sat back down. I just hope I'm wrong about this. Wrong about what, boss? Asked Tessai, knowing whenever his boss says he hopes he's wrong about something, it means something bad is going to happen. Well, from what I could gather up from Naruto now and compare it to when he was in the Seireiji, his power has greatly increased besides his hollow and demon powers. He has so much Ryotsu that he can only suppress about half, and without that new Gigai, the Gote 13 would have found him by now. His uncanny ability to get stronger when he needs to is unbelievable, and if his daughter inherits that, she will most likely be on par with him if not surpass him. He explained to them, understanding the basic idea of what he was trying to tell them, but only left one question. But what does that have to do with her not releasing any Ryotsu? Asked Karun, since he did not understand what Urahara told them related to his master's child. That is what has me so worried, he said, confusing them. I'm not sure, but if I am correct, her soul must know something is going to happen and is keeping her powers dormant until that time comes. It is hard to understand. Our souls sometimes know what the body and mind does not and prepares itself to protect it. That is the only theory I can come up with till I have a look at her. Urahara finished his explanation as the other two nodded, understanding what he said. As for Naruto, he was in his room holding his daughter in his arms, sitting in a rocking chair, smiling down at his pride and joy as she slept in his arms. Rocking back and forth, listening to the sounds of Yoruichi and their daughter sleeping, he started to think about what Urahara said to him and began to wonder if there was something wrong with her. If there was, it was most likely his fault because of his demon blood. I promise no matter what happens I will always love you and will be there when you need me. He whispered to her as if she understood what he said. She smiled. Little did they all know that somewhere in Karakura here a group of humans gathered together with one thing on their mind. Unknown location. In a darkened room with the only light was a lit candle in the middle with 5 people sitting around it. As you all know, the Kyuubi has returned to this wood after 3,000 years. A male voice spoke. Tell the others. Tell us something we don't. A younger voice replied, making 2 of the other 3 angry the way he answered to their leader. Watch your tongue. An older man called out. You're only here because your father is ill, other than that you have no say, so keep your trap shut. The older man finished, making the younger-looking boy glare at him before he could counter. The first man, who apparently was the leader of the group, raised his hand, stopping any other unnecessary arguments. I did not call this meeting to inform you of any old information or to have you argue amongst yourselves. The leader of this group stated. I have called on you to inform you that the Kyuubi has produced an offspring with one of the Shinigami that come to this world. He informed his comrades as their eyes widened in shock. This is unacceptable. We have to kill it now while we have the chance before it able to control its power. A middle-aged man exclaimed with the other man in the group, while the younger one snorted at his proposal. Yubaka, if we try that now we'll be running into a death trap and reveal our little organization too. The younger boy said, making the said man stand up, towering over the boy, glaring daggers at him with his ki. Killer intent, filling the room. However, the boy did not flinch or cower from the man's actions. Instead, he just smirked, happy he could get under his skin, but just like before, the leader stopped them before anything could happen. Calm down, Tanaka. Young Sato is right. If we attack now, we will be slaughtered before we could do anything and risk giving away our organization. Their leader said as the man known as Tanaka huffed and sat back down while Sato's smirk increased. Then what will we do then? Let the demon child grow and become even more of a threat than it is now? The older man asked. No, I have a plan, but it will take time for it to work. The leader told them as he looked at the only man who did not say anything in their meeting. Arisawa, am I correct that your daughter had baby girl recently with one of my sons? He asked the man. Yes, she has. It was about 2 weeks ago. If I may ask, why would that help? The man known as Arisawa asked their leader, who just smiled in return. "You see her, child. Our granddaughter is part of my plan," he informed the others, while Arisawa seemed like he was not going to like it. "We will use her to befriend the demon spawn and capture her, using it as bait to lure the demon fox to use and kill it once and for all, along with its demon lover and followers." At first, the others did not agree it, but if their leader thought it would work, they did too and agreed with him. However, one man did not. The thought of using his granddaughter as some kind of tool did not sit well with him, but he could not do anything about it. He was not strong enough to stop him, not with especially with his eyes. That was the only thing that made him the leader in the first place. "That is all for now, you're dismissed, but Arisawa, you stay, I want to talk to you," the leader said as the others left save Arisawa. "Yes, what is it you need to talk to me about, Leader Sama?" Arisawa said. "I just want you to know, if you somehow manage to screw this up, I will kill you myself." His leader threatened him as he saw his leader's eyes, the eyes he hated so much. No, he loathed them, and now his granddaughter will have those same eyes. However, he could not take it out on her. It was not her fault. "Do I make myself clear?" "Yes, Leader Sama," he replied. "Good, you may take your leave," the leader told him as he complied. Watching as Arisawa left, he picked up the candle, putting it out as the darkness conceals his body along with his red eyes that had 3 tomes around each pupil. "Soon, demon, you will become nothing more than a memory that should have been long forgotten," he said as his voice echoed throughout the room. 9 years later, the last 9 years went by fast for the two parents. Kazuki ran some test on Asa to see if there was anything wrong with her to Yoruichi's protest, but Naruto convinced her it was okay and let him go on with his test. He did not find anything wrong, which just helped to prove his theory that her soul was indeed preparing her for what might happen in the future. He told the two of them about. Of course, they asked if he knew what would happen, but he had no true answer. All he could do was watch over her and wait. However, he did notice that she was releasing a small trace of Ryotsu. This was good. The only thing though was she would only be as spiritually aware as a Huan child would be until her true powers awaken. Therefore, he made a Gigai similar to Naruto's for her if her powers awaken. Also let Naruto and Yoruichi take her out from time to time. By the time she turned 4, she was able to see spirits or pluses and was seen by Yoruichi or Naruto talking to them. When they asked if she could see ghosts, she told them no, they did not press on about the issue, as they wanted her to have a normal life before they would have to train her so she could protect herself. Until then they will let her have her childhood. One day they were walking back from taking Asa to the park. They walked by a dojo which Asa begged them if they can go inside, which they were happy with the idea. She might have an interest in karate, so they went in. The place was decent and had many kids participating, which made the two happy. If she joined, she could make some friends. The more they watched, the more Asa wanted to join, and eventually she asked her parents, which they both smiled at each other and told her yes. That brought a smile on their daughter's face. There she met two of her best friends, Tatsuki Arisawa and Ichigo Kurosaki, whom Naruto and Yoruichi find out that he is a son of a Shinigami by Urahara. She befriended some others, but the three hit it off as if they were always friends. When she started school, they suspended her on the first day for punching a couple of boys who were picking on an orange-haired little girl named Orihime Inoue because of her hair color. Yoruichi did not know what to do about that, scold her for being suspended or tell her what she did was the right thing to do. Naruto flat out told her he was proud of her, glad to be her father, and got a smack to the back of his head from his lover, who told their daughter the same thing, but next time try not use any violence. That she agreed to, and from then on, she protected Orihime from any other bullies that tried to pick on her. After that, nothing else happened to their happy life. They just hide from the Go-Day 13 and making sure nothing happens to Asa. But everything changed when Asa turned 9, the day when a hollow attacked her. The karate dojo, Tatsuki, Ichigo, and Asa had just finished their karate practice and were changing back into their regular cloths. All three of them met back up with their parents as Asa and Ichigo said goodbye to Tatsuki as she left with her mother. As Ichigo's mom asked Naruto a question. "Naruto, me and my husband were wondering if you and your wife would like to come over and have dinner with us?" asked Ichigo's mother as Asa's eyes lit up after hinging her question. "Please, Otto-san, can we go?" Asa asked as she begged her father. "I don't know, will you have any ramen?" Naruto asked Ichigo's mother, which she smiled. "Of course it wouldn't be dinner without ramen, no would it?" she told him. "Nope, and how could I say no to a face like hers?" Naruto said, jesting towards Asa, who was jumping with joy. "I can see why she looks more like her mother ever passing day," Ichigo's mother stated as Naruto sighs. Tell me about it. If she starts to act like her when we first met, I'm going to have my hands full scaring her boyfriends away. He groaned as Ichigo's mother laughed at him. Hey Otto-san, can I go over to Ichigo's house and wait for you? Aka-san? Asa asked her father as she stuck out her lower lip and cupped her hands together. Once again, Naruto sighed in defeat, as he could not say no to her no matter how hard he tried. If Mrs. Kurosaki says it's alright, he told her, then looked to the said women who nodded to both of them. Well, there you go, but you have to listen to what she says, alright? K, she tells her father as she and Ichigo go wait outside. So what time do you want us to be there? He asked Mrs. Kurosaki, who put a finger on her chin. I say around 7:30, 8 o'clock should be good, she told him as he gave her a nod and an okay. They both walked outside, seeing their children both playing in some puddles. Naruto ruffled Ace's hair and said he will see her around 8. Most kids would hate to have their hair ruffled like that, but for some reason she liked when her father did it. The three of them were now walking down the sidewalk on their way to Ichigo's house, with Asa on Ichigo's mother's left side and Ichigo on her right. They were talking about what happened in karate practice when car drove by, diving over puddle on the side of the road. Splash Ichigo. Luckily he was wearing a raincoat so his cloths did not get wet, however, the water did splash his face. Oh Ichigo, are you alright? His mother asked him as she fished in her dress pocket for a napkin, cloth to clean his face, as Asa was trying not to laugh at him but failed. I'm fine, Ka-san, he said as his mother finished cleaning his face. How about I walk by the street, that way you won't get splashed? His mother suggested, but Ichigo shook his head. That's okay, I don't mind, besides I have a raincoat and I can protect you from the cars splashing water on you, Ichigo said to her. That made his mother smile. My little hero, she said as she stood back up as they continued their way. Despite what her son said, she still to the edge of the sidewalk so the two kids were away from the road. As Asa and Ichigo talked about what they were going to do once they got to his house, Mrs. Kurosaki just listened and kept on walking. They walked by a river where both Asa and Ichigo saw what looked like a girl who was going to jump in, and without warning they both charged after the girl to stop her, ignoring Ichigo's mother pleading for them to stop. No matter what she said, the two kept on running. Just before they could reach the girl, she disappeared and were both tackled to the ground. Ichigo was somehow knocked out, however Asa was not, so she was the only one to her. A blood-curdling scream come from Ichigo's mom. What she heard next scared her even more. So I got 3 for the price of 1, but that little girl smells like a Shinigami with the mixture of a demon, Asa heard dark voice say to itself. The demon? I am not a demon, Asa thought to herself. I thought they were all extinct. Guess it must be my lucky day. If I eat her I surely become stronger, he. The kept talking to itself. I had to get some help, but if I leave, what will happen to Ichigo and his Ka-san? She thought as the sounds of something heavy walking towards her. I have to save them no matter what my Otto-san and Ka-san would do. With that, she got up as fast as she could and ran away from Ichigo's and his mother's body. Thinking she was far enough, she turned around to look at whom, or what attacked Ichigo's mother. Her eyes widened as she got a good look, as it looked like a giant hamster, a white bone-like mask with bird-like hands and feet, a tentacle-like limb, which hung from his forehead, similar to the eska or lure of an anglerfish. On the end of the tentacle-like limb, she saw the same girl that was going to jump into the river. It was you who made that girl appeared, wasn't it? Asa asked the hamster-like creature. Ha ha ha, aren't you a bright one? So what, it was me. The creature answered her, taking a step closer to her. Why would you do something like that? She asked, completely unaware to what she was taking with. A hollow is to eat as much as a Shinigami demon half-breed does. I wonder how a demon is still alive. I have heard the last one died 3,000 years ago. So tell, little girl, how can you be half-demon? The now revealed hollow asked her. I'm not a demon or a shini, whatever you called me. I am nothing but a human, Asa exclaimed as the hairy creature laughed at her. It doesn't matter if you believe me or not, you will still be eaten by me, so die, the hamster-like hollow said as he lunged at her. If it was not for her karate practice and her quick agility, she would not be able to dodge the attack. Luckily she was but not unscathed as the creature slashed her right arm. Letting out a scream, she grabbed her injured arm as she fell to her knees, tears forming in her eyes, as the pain was too great for her, but she had to get this thing away from Ichigo. Ignoring the pain, She got back to feet and stared down the monster that just attacked her. "Is that all you got? I stubbed my toe that hurt worse than that," she said, trying not to sound like she was in pain and ignoring the blood that was seeping through her hand. "You will regret those words, little girl," the Hollow said as he once again charged Asa, but this time she was ready, and just as its attack was going to hit her, she jumped onto its arm. Not stopping there, she jumped at his mask-like face and kicked it as hard as she could as it cracked its mask, making the creature hiss in pain. Landing back on the ground, ignoring the pain coming from her foot from kicking this face, she stood up and turned to face the overgrown hamster. She stuck her tongue out and moved her lower eyelid down. Whatever they do in most animes to get someone mad. Then turned back around and ran off, which mad the creature she just kicked pissed. "Why, you little, I will enjoy devouring you," the Hollow roared as it chased after Asa just as Ichigo woke up. Running as fast as she could, not daring to check to see if that thing was still chasing after her, since she could hear loud stomping. She guessed it was still following her. It was amazing she was able to outrun the giant creature as she ran across streets, not caring to see if a car was coming, since running was more important. Eventually she came to a park where she ran through since it was the fastest way to get back home, but the next thing she saw was the Hollow appearing in front of her, and its bird-like hand smacked her, sending her soaring into a tree as she coughed up some blood on impact. Falling to the ground, she struggled to push herself up, but her arms gave out and fell back down. Her vision was getting from losing too much blood, so all she could see was a blurry image of the Hollow that was trying to kill her, that it will probably do since she could not fight back even if she tried. "End of the line, little girl," the Hollow said as it closed the distance between the two. "It was fun while it lasted, but everything must come to end." It finished as it brought its bird-like hands, now claws, towards her prone body, but her body them disappeared, shocking the Hollow. It searched the area and spotted a blonde man with a purple-haired woman about 20 yards away. The two newcomers were in some dress cloths as the blonde-haired person was holding the Hollow's meal, that made him wonder if the two were the demon's parents. "How sweet the Ka-san and Otto-san come to save their child, Mawahaha." The Hollow laughed, but the two just ignored him. "Asa, I am so sorry I didn't come sooner, but don't worry, your Otto-san and Ka-san are here," Naruto whispered to her. Even though she could not see that very well, she did heard her father's voice and smiled. "I was able to get that thing away from Ichigo and his mother. I tried to make it home, but it stopped me." Asa forced herself to talk even though it hurt her to try. "But I think that monster, or Hollow as it called itself, attacked Ichigo's mother. You have to see if they are." That was all she was able to say before she passed out for both the pain and blood loss. Yoruichi gasped, fearing the worst, but Naruto told her that she only passed out. He then placed Asa in her arms and told her to take her to Urahara while he deal with the Hollow, who was waiting patiently. Doing as her lover asked, she left, leaving the two, one which was beyond pissed as he wanted to tear the Hollow that stood in front of him to shreds. "Judging by how mad you look, you must be that demon Gaki's Otto-san," the Hollow asked Naruto. He did not respond. Instead, he balled his hands into fist as he glared the Hollow that was in front of him to death. If that was possible. "What cat got your tongue, or do cower in fear in front of the mighty Grand Fisher? I really don't prefer to eat males, I rather eat that little girl, but I think I could make an exception just for today," the Hollow known as Grand Fisher said. Just before Fisher could make a move, the blonde man that was in front of him disappeared from his sight as he fist punched his left side of his mask, cracking that side too. Sliding about 30 yards away, Fisher got back to his feet and glared at the blonde-haired man, but noticed he had changed. He now had two blonde fox ears on top of his head with 9 tails swishing behind him, but when he looked into his eyes, his crimson eyes, the hatred he sent froze him in place. His hollow body failed to comply with what his mind told it to do. He watched as Naruto slowly made his way towards him. It felt like an eternity as he took every step. His hands that he had still balled up hands had blood dripping from them as his nails dug into palms, but what really shocked him next was his right up to his forearm turned pitch black. What are you doing?" Fisher asked him. "I would kill you, but that would let you off easy, so I will be sending you to neither heaven nor hell. Instead I will send you into the deepest pit of the demon world, where your soul will never rest, as it will be devoured by the demons that are long gone from this world," he told as he kept walking towards him. "However, before I send you there, I shall cleanse all the souls you have devoured beforehand, as they don't deserve the same punishment as you." He then shoved his right arm into Grand Fisher's hollow hole, then removed it. As he did, Fisher let out a blood-curdling scream as all the soul he had ever devoured were out of him and took the shape of a pure white orb that was now in Naruto's hand. What did you do to me?" Fisher asked him as he felt as if 1,000 Zanpakutos have sliced through him. "What I did is what I call Kukyu no Kyome, ultimate purification. It is a technique I've been developing for the last 200 years and I just recently perfected it. If you are wondering what this orb is, well, let us just say it is the collection of all the souls that you eaten in your lifetime. My Kukyu no Kyome is one way to collect all the souls from your body, soul, and cleanse without doing the same to you," Naruto explained as he put the white orb in his pocket, then turns around and walks a few yards away, his back still facing Grand Fisher. "And now time for your punishment for killing Masaki Kurosaki and attacking my daughter," he said in a cold, icy tone as he brought his right arm, holding it out from his side, digging his nails into his palm, drawing blood, and let a good amount drip onto the ground. The blood on the ground started to take the form and shape of Naruto. As the blood cleared, the clone was wearing the same thing. He was an orange button-up short-sleeve shirt and some black cargo pants with no trace of any blood on them. "What can't defeat me on your one, so you make a copy of yourself, some demon you are, Mawahaha." Grand Fisher mocked him but was silenced when Naruto sent an icy glare at him over his left shoulder. "Humph, you don't deserve to be killed by my hands, and weren't you listening? I wasn't going to kill you since I am going to send your soul to the deepest part of the demon world. However, to summon the gates to demon world it requires a sacrifice. That is why I made a Kai Bunshin, blood clone. It is like an exact copy of me made from my blood. However, what is special about this clone is it can take the place of the sacrifice I need. So have a pleasant trip," he finished as he shunned Pioed away. The clone then started to levitate off the ground. Suddenly its body split in half from the top of his head down the middle, as one half slid up while the other slid down. Both halves moved apart from one another as they separated. Grand Fisher, who was still standing, could only watch as the two halves moved apart and saw what looked like a doorway but pitch black, about 30 feet tall and 10 feet wide, appear while Naruto's blood clone separated. All he could hear was Naruto's voice echo around the area. "Akuma's Seiki, Demon's Gate." However, nothing happened. "That's it, ha ha ha. I thought you were going to send me to the demon world, but I guess all you couldn't do that too, could you?" He laughed, but it cut short once a demonic arm shot out and grabbed hold of him that made him grunt in pain as it was crushing him. Without warning, the arm rushed back and taking the hollow with it into the gate as it was closing. Once it closed, it disappeared as if it were never there, just in time as two Shinigamis arrived. "Wasn't there supposed to be a hollow here?" one the Shinigami asked his comrade. "Yeah, the Seireitei messaged it was one that kept escaping from every encounter, but what happened to it?" the other one replied. "Maybe it went back to Hueco Mundo?" "That could be, but we still should report this to the head captain," the second one said as they both left the area. With Naruto, after he left his blood clone to finish of the hollow who dared to attack his child, he went to find Ichigo and his mother, who he knew was most likely dead. He found the two by the river with Ichigo's head down, his hair covering his eyes as he stood over the lifeless body of his mother. As if the sky could feel the pain and sorrow that the boy felt, it started to rain. Naruto then walked up to the sad-looking boy. Placing a hand on his shoulder, startling him, Ichigo then looked up to see who it was next to him and noticed it was Ace's father. Looking back at his mother, he asked him something. Why did she have to die?" he asked him. Naruto could understand his pain. It was something similar to what happened to his sensei, but he knew who killed him. As for Ichigo, he had no clue. "I don't know why. I guess the world works in mysteries ways," he told Ace's friend, but it seemed the boy did not like his answer. "But why did it take her? She didn't do anything to anybody. All she did was love and care for us along with everyone around her. What did she do to deserve to die? It's not fair." Ichigo cried out as he fell to his knees and cried as Naruto let him vent it all out, as he took out his phone and called the police. After reporting it what happened, the police came to take her body away. Naruto then took Ichigo home and told his father Isshin what happened. He thanked him for what he did to the hollow that killed him, his wife. They both said their goodbyes as Naruto left and hoped his daughter was okay. He then left to check if his daughter was okay. As he arrived at his house, he went straight to his daughter's room to see her laying down sleeping, her right arm bandaged up. Other than that, she seemed okay. Yoruichi, who was lying next to her softly stroking Ace's hair as she slept, noticed her lover's arrival and told him what she knew. She is fine. All she had was a deep gash on her right arm and a fractured on her right foot as well. She informed him as he released a sigh of relief. That explains why that hollow's right side of its mask was cracked. He told her as he smirks. Even without her active powers she still is a mean right kick. He added, which made Yoruichi smile, but it then disappeared. That means we will have to tell her about what we are and what she is, she said to him as his smirk disappeared too. Yeah, it was bound to happen, but I wish it was on better circumstances. Naruto told her as he moves next to his daughter as kiss her forehead as they both headed towards the door. When Naruto and Yoruichi left their daughter's room and closed the door, Asa mumbled something in her sleep. Oto-san, am I demon? It was about mid-afternoon when Asa finally awoke, groaning as she looked around, finding herself in her room. She guessed her parents must have bought her home after they found her at the park. Then suddenly, remembering what happened yesterday, she was going to get out of bed, but stopped once she heard the door open, revealing her father. The two made eye contact. Naruto's tired eyes softened as he stepped into her room, closing the door quietly behind him. Asa watched her father walk from the door and sit next on the edge of her bed as neither one spoke a word as she looked at her blanket that had a purple baby fox laying next to what she could tell was its parent, which was an orange fox with 9 tails. Though it was wired since she never seen a purple fox or any with 9 tails, but never gave it that much thought though, as it was a gift from her father. Speaking of her father, he looked a bit tired, as he couldn't get any sleep, thinking about what conspired yesterday, as to what could be going through his daughter's mind, and there was only one thing he could do, was to ask. Asai, he began, but she cut him off. Oto-san, can you tell me something? She asked, still looking at her blanket. Sure, just asked. Her father gently replied with a smile, though he knew she would ask what attacked her. Is it true? She asked him. Is what true? He asked her. That I am, she started, but for some reason her eyes started to water. I am. She tried to ask again, but her voice started to crack, as she was afraid to find the answer. Naruto, seeing his daughter's eyes start forming tears, moved a hand and wiped them away. Asa, what's wrong? Why you crying? He asked her, thinking the hollow attack was starting to sink in. Instead of answering and telling her father she was fine, she grabbed her father's hand, removing it from her face, and looked into his eyes. Am I a demon? She finally asked. Naruto eyes widened, his pupils shrinking to small dots, too stunned to answer her sudden question. He wasn't suspecting, then he remembered what that hollow said. Judging by how mad you look, you must be that demon Gaki's Oto-san. He must have been too angry to pay attention to what it meant, and because that, he wasn't ready for what his daughter just asked. Asa, on the other hand, saw her father's shocked face and assumed the worst, believing what that thing said to her was true. So it's true then? She whispered as Naruto shook off the sudden shock. Asa, let me explain, he told her, but she wasn't listening as she looked away from him in a shock of her own. I'm a demon, she said to herself, unable to accept it. She always thought she was a human. She didn't want to believe what some overgrown hamster said she smelled like. However, after seeing her father's shocked face, it made her believe what it said was true, and had to wonder how was that possible if her parents were human. Then her eyes widened a bit more as she began to think. What if they aren't humans as well? She thought, but her father shook her, snapping her out of her thoughts, forcing her to look at him. Asa, I can explain, he told her, but she didn't care, as she wanted her questions to be answered first. No, first tell me, how's it possible that I'm a demon? She demanded, but all Naruto could do was open his mouth a bit. Or if Kasen and you were even human. Asa clammed down, and I'll try to explain, he said, trying to get her to calm down. Calm down? How am I supposed to calm down when I find out that I might not be human? Asa exclaimed, not giving her father a chance to explain as Naruto sighed, as the only thing he had to do now was explain everything to her. Combing his hand through his blonde spiky hair, he stood up, walked towards the window in her room, and watched as the trees danced while the wind blew through them. A few minutes later, he then turned towards Asa with serious look plastered on his face. All right, I'll tell you everything, he told her. True to his word, he began to tell her everything, all about who he was, along with her mother, Kazuki, Tessai and Kurun. Telling her all about the Soul Society to the Seireiti, about Shinigamis and Hollows to the point as what they are. She couldn't believe when he told her that their bodies were fake, only to serve as a way for them to interact with people in the living world. However, once he started to explain how she was a demon, she found it hard to believe it was when he showed her his demon form, shocking her as it was her first time seeing it. She noticed his ears and 9 tails, then everything started to make sense as she started to remember how she acted when she was a little younger, how she would curl up into a ball whenever she was on her mother's or her father's lap. Another was whenever her father ruffled her hair. She seen most kids her age hated whenever their parents or older sibling does it to them, however she loved when her father does it, not to mention her blanket. Letting all this new information sit in, there was one thing her father failed to mention, and that was why have they failed to tell her anything about who or what she really was instead of her living a lie. "Were you ever going to tell me?" she asked her father as they both were now sitting next to each other on the edge of her bed. "Of course we were," Naruto told her as he looked down at her. "We just wanted to wait until you were older." "But why wait?" she replied. Well, I wanted you to have a normal childhood before we told you about what you were," he said as she watched her as her eyes narrowed a bit. "So much that turned out to be. How can someone have a normal childhood if they weren't normal to begin with?" she shot back. "Well, I'm sorry," he said to her as she snorted. "For what? Lying to me my whole life, making me think I was human, then telling me I'm not just so I can have a childhood," she exclaimed. "I'm probably the reason why Ichigo and his cousin were attacked too," she whispered to herself, but Naruto heard her. "You're right," he admitted as he stood up looking at the wall. "Maybe I should told you, but was it wrong of me to let my only child to have something that I never had the luxury when I was a kid?" he told her as he headed towards the door. However, he added one more thing before he slid it open. "For that I'm sorry." Naruto then slid open the door and walked out, leaving his daughter to ponder what he said to her. In the living room, while Naruto was talking with Asa. Just as Naruto went into Asa's room by himself, telling Yoruichi to stay since he wanted to tell the truth, since it was his idea to let her have somewhat of a normal childhood. At first, she protested but soon gave up since she known him, he was always stubborn about things like this. Therefore, she stayed in the living room with Kazuki, Tessai, and Kuron as the four of them sat and waited for Naruto to come out Asa's room. It felt like time stood still as they waited. Yoruichi couldn't take it anymore as she got up and headed towards her daughter's room. However, before she could reach the hallway, someone grabbed hold of her wrist, stopping her. She turned to tell it Kazuki, who she figured was the one who was trying to stop her, but was surprised to see it was Kuron. "Kurun, let go of my wrist," she told him firmly, but he didn't say or do what she asked. "I'm not going to ask again, so let go," she said, this time with more of a threat behind her words, but again Kurun said or did anything. Yoruichi's golden cat-like eyes narrowed dangerously at him as she tried to free her hand. However, when she tried, his grip drew tighter, which just made her even madder as she balled her free hand into a fist. Just before she was going to sock Kurun, his words stopped her. "Yoruichi-sama, I'm sorry, but I cannot let you go in there," he told her with a straight face as he started into her eyes that showed how furious she was at him. Urahara's along with Tessai's eyes widened as they both slowly scooted away, the two knowing just how their purple-haired friend gets once she's mad. "Tell me one good reason I should listen to you, since she is my daughter and I have a right to be in there, or have you forgotten that?" she informed him, her fist still balled up as everyone in the room could feel the anger coming off her in waves, but Kuron kept his ground, not flinching once nor letting go of his master lover's wrist. "No, I have not, since I was there when you gave birth to her," he shot back calmly as he stared into her rage-filled eyes, ready to tear him apart. "This is something Naruto-sama has to do alone," he told her as he kept staring into her eyes. Yoruichi was now beyond pissed as she wanted to deck Kuron and make her way towards her daughter's room, but before she could, Kazuki decided to say something. "He's right, Yoruichi, if you forgot, it was Naruto's decision to let her have normal childhood, instead telling her that she not human but a hybrid demon Shinigami." He spoke fearing what he said might bring the wrath of the purple-haired goddess on him, but she had to know. "My guess is that he feels guilty for what has happened to her and her young friend's cousin, which is not his or Ace's fault," he added, that just made the enraged Yoruichi confused by what he said. "What?" Yoruichi said, now with a confused look on her face as she pulled her hand free from Kurun's grip and looked at her other blonde friend. "Why would he feel guilty, and what do you mean it's not Ace's or Naruto's fault?" she asked. However, before Kazuki could answer, the sound of Ace's door opening then close interrupted him as Naruto walked out from the hallway, making his way towards the front door, but stopped when he heard Yoruichi call his names. "Naruto, is everything alright?" she asked him, but Naruto put on one of his fox-like smile and turned to look at her. "Yeah, everything's fine. Just feel like taking a walk to clear my mind, so I'll be gone for a while," he told her as he continued his way towards the front door. However, Yoruichi didn't buy it, knowing that look all too well, as he would put on that mask so others would worry about him. "Naruto, wait," she called out to him, but he didn't hear her or just ignored her as he walked outside, sliding the door behind him, leaving everyone to wonder what happened. Yoruichi was the first one to head towards her daughter's room and opened the door, seeing her daughter sitting at the edge of her bed looking at the floor. She then walked towards Asa's bed, sitting next to her daughter with her hands on her lap as she looked at her. "Would you tell me what your Oto-san and you were talking about?" Yoruichi asked her gently. At first Asa didn't want to but nodded her head, knowing her mother would get it out of her eventually. Therefore, Asa began and told her mother what the two talked about, leaving nothing out, and judging the face her mother had, she could tell that she was a bit mad. Yoruichi now understood why Naruto acted the way he did before he left. It was true that he only wanted their daughter to enjoy and have something he never had. He wanted her to have friends, not having to worry about if she would have something to eat or if she was going to be attacked for something she had no control over, as he did. All he wanted for her was to have somewhat of normal childhood and to have a family. The one thing he truly wanted when he was a kid: to be loved and acknowledged by someone. It must have hurt Naruto to have his daughter to say and acted the way she did. Yes, she should have the right to be angry, but she couldn't see what her father was trying to do. But if she knew why he did what he did, she would most likely understand. While Yoruichi was pondering about what Asa just told her, the said little girl thought about the last thing her father said to her before he left her room. She wanted to know what he could have meant by that, so she decided to ask her mother, since she would be the one who would mostly know why. "Cousin, I was wondering what Oto-san meant when he said he never had the same luxury I did when he was a kid," she asked her mother, who let out a sigh, as she had no right to say but she needs to know. "I shouldn't tell you this, but it is the only thing I can think of," she said as she thought on how she should tell her. "You see, your Oto-san didn't have what we call a normal childhood. From what he has told me, for most of his life he had to hide in fear in the village he grew up in. As for the villagers that resided in, would beat and torture him for something he had no control over," she told her daughter, making her eyes widen in shock. Because of that, he never had the chance to make any friends, as the kids his age parents would tell to stay away from him. They also kicked him out of most stores, and the ones who would let him in overcharged him. That made cloths and food scarce, as he would have to search in garbage cans for food or new clothing if he was lucky. Sometimes an owner of a ramen shop that was in his village would give him free bowls of ramen, which is probable why he likes it so much. But what I'm trying to say is he never had the chance to make any friends when he was a kid. When he told me that he wanted us not to tell you about what you were so you could experience that, I agreed with him since I didn't have it easy myself," she informed her, making Asa regret what she said to her father. "How bad was it for you?" Asa asked. "I'll tell you when you're ready to know," she said, as she didn't want her to know she was part of one of the 4 noble clans in the Seireiti. "Now I think you should go find your Oto-san and apologize to him," Yoruichi suggested, getting a nod from her daughter, who got stood up and left to search for her father. With Naruto, once Naruto left his home, which not that long ago was remodeled into a candy-like store to help keep them from being discovered. He could care less what his home looked like, since he was with his soon-to-be wife and child. That was all he needed. Having a nice home was a luxury in his eyes. Any home was as good, or better than the one he had when he was still alive, but none of that really mattered. Only one thing did. Pondering what was on his mind, he walked aimlessly across the town of Karakura with nowhere in particular destination in mind, just walking to help solve the question that kept popping up. His aimless walking finally ended in the one place that started his troubles and revealed the one thing he never told his daughter, because he wanted to give her the one thing he never got to experience as a kid. Walking into the park where Asa was attacked by the hollow that called itself Grand Fisher, he found an empty bench to sit down on as he watched the kids play with one another, unaware of what truly goes on in the world. It brought a smile to his face as he remembered the time as if it were yesterday he would bring Asa to this very park. She would play with her friends she made at the dojo and some other random kids who were playing in the park at the time. However, it soon went away as he saw a kid with green hair and eyes. He has 2 bangs that frame his face to his cheeks and a bang that forms between his eyes. His hair also formed 2 like spikes that poked out on both sides of his head. He also wore a white t-shirt with blue jean shorts and black sneakers. He was sitting on a swing by himself. It brought memories of himself with the same look on his face, wanting to join the other kids. Memories he wish he could forget, but those memories are the very same that made him who he is today, and forgetting them would change his very core. As they help him understand others who are in the same boat as he was there for, he stood up and walked over towards the lonely child. The said child never sensed his presence, as he was startled when Naruto spoke to him. "Tell me, child, why is it that you're not playing with the others?" Naruto asked, but the child just looked at him, then back towards the group of kids playing tag and then towards the ground, not saying a word. "I can see it in your eyes, you want to play with them, but something is holding you back," he added, but the child kept staring at the ground below him as if it had the answer. "It's just that I recently moved here 2 days ago, so I'm new here and I'm afraid they will make fun of me because of my green hair," the boy said in a sad voice, but Naruto just smiled as he placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "So what if they make fun of you? That only means they were never meant to be your friends in the first place. Besides, you'll never know until you try, am I right?" Naruto said, trying to encourage the boy to go over and talk to other kids, which seemed to work as the young boy got up and nodded his head. "You're right, mister, I don't know until I try," the boy exclaimed as he gulped and made his way towards the group of kids. Naruto stood by the swing set and watched as the boy asked the other kids if he could play with them. Once the kids' face lit up, he guessed they said yes. The green-haired boy then ran back towards Naruto with a happy smile on his face. "They said yes, mister," the boy told him, "and they didn't say anything funny about my hair either," he added as Naruto smiled down at him. "Then what are you waiting for? Go and play with your new friends," he told him as the boy nodded, then turned around and took off. However, he stopped himself and looked back at Naruto. "I'm sorry, I never got your name, mister," the boy asked him. "The name's Naruto," he told him. "My name is Gurren, Japanese for Glenn, and thanks again, Naruto-san," the now known Gurren said as he ran back to the other kids, waving goodbye to Naruto as he did. Naruto waved back at him as he made his way back towards the bench he was sitting at, sat back down, and watched as Gurren and the other kids played together. It made him think about the choice he made that concerned with his daughter, the same one he questioned. Was I wrong to have let Asa have a childhood, or should I have told her what she was and taught the ways of the Shinigami? She would have been able to defend herself much better than she has, but would she still be the same little girl she is now? He thought to himself as he kept watching the kids play. He lost track of time, as the sun was soon about to set as the parents of the kids who were playing came to pick them up. Gurren, who noticed Naruto was still there, waved goodbye one last time before he left with his parents. He had to wonder as he noticed neither one of his parents had green hair, so why did he? But then again, Isshin boy had orange hair while neither Masaki nor Isshin have any trace of orange. Therefore, he put it as one of those genetic kinds of thing and left it at that as he tried to clear his mind while looking up at the red-orange filled sky. He decided it was time to return home as he spent too long sitting here in the park. Yoruichi was probably getting worried, but just when he was about to leave, someone called out to him. "Oto-san." The voice called, panting as if they had been running a marathon. Naruto looked over his shoulder to see his daughter hunched over, her hands resting on her knees as she looked like she's been running all over town, most likely trying to find him. Asa, who finally caught her breath, looked towards her father, who made a gesture for her to sit next to him, which she complied. Sitting next to her father, who looked back up at the sky while she looked around at the now empty park that was the same park her parents rescued her from, the hollow that almost tried to kill her. Looking up at the sky as her father was doing, she noticed how beautiful it looked as she could stare at it all day or until sunset, but her father interrupted her, asking a serious question. "Asa, tell me, are you upset with the choice I made?" he asked her, making her look at her hand that was on her lap. "Are you talking about not telling me that I was not human?" she answered her father in a low tone. "Yes, you see, on the day you were born I had to make a decision. Should I tell you about what you were or let you have something I never had the chance to experience, to have a childhood?" He told her. That made her remember what her mother told her about how her father was treated when he was a child. It made her think about all the things she did with her friends that she has now and what it would be like if she never had them. She now understood what her father tried to do for her. Then wondered how her father could live a life as he did and act the way he does now, always happy, as she never once seen him sad or angry until now. "I did at first, but that was until Kasen told me about how you were treated when you were my age," she said, making Naruto stiffen as his eyes widened a bit. "So, your Kasen told you about that, huh?" he said, looking down at her as she looking down at her hands, answering him with a nod as he let out a sigh. "I didn't want you to hear about that, but it helps explain the chose I did, and I see you understand why too," he added as she nodded again, then looked at her father. "Tell me, Oto-san, how could you live like that? Going days without food, not having a single friend, and always getting bad up. She asked as tears formed at the corner of her eyes again as she pictured seeing her father being beat up by some random people. Naruto wiped the tears away with his thumb before they could fall and smiled at his daughter. I just did. I knew they weren't mad at me but what I had inside me. He told her, which confused her, as she didn't know anything about the Kyuubi. I don't understand what was inside you, she asked as he laughed and ruffled her hair as she closed her eyes, enjoying the feeling. I'll tell you once we get home, he told her. Then an idea popped into his head. Or I can show her and in a way, see her again, he thought as he stood up from the park bench, dusting the back of his pants off. Looking back at his daughter, he notices she was still sitting on the bench with her head down. What's wrong? He asked her. Oto-san, Asa said as she trailed off. Yes, what is it? He answered her as he turned his body to face her. I just wanted to say that I am sorry for what I said to you. She apologized, getting a smile from her father. I'm also grateful for what you've done for me. If you haven't made the choice that you did, I most likely wouldn't have met Ichigo, Tatsuki, Orihime, and all my other friends. What I'm trying to say is, she said as she got up as fast as she could and hugged her father. Thank you, she finished as she hugged him harder. Naruto just kept smiling, stroking her head, then placing his hands on her shoulders as she breaks away from her hug and kneels down in front of her. How about we head home? Your cousin is probably worried, he suggested as she nodded, so he stood up, but just as the two were about to leave, Naruto heard a rumbling sound. Looking at his daughter, he could see her blushing, not that anybody else could tell because of her chocolate-colored skin. However, Naruto could, as he spent a lot of time with Yoruichi. Sounds like someone hungry, he said as Asa rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. You think we can get something to eat before we go home? She asked. Sure, what do you have in mind? He asked her as she smiled. How about some ramen? She exclaimed as her father looked at her funny. You know how mad your cousin gets if we go out to eat ramen without her, he informed her, but she kept her smile on her face. All we have to do is not to forget to bring her some. Asa lied, but hoping her father would buy it, as he was gullible when it came to ramen. Naruto was stroking his chin, debating whether he should, but the sound of getting some ramen made his mouth water, and eventually he gave up and made his decision. Ah, what the heck, I'm in the mood for some ramen, and I bet you're right, if we bring her some she won't get made. Naruto exclaimed as Asa sighed in relief as her father bought her lie. Therefore, the two made their way to Naruto's favorite ramen shop in town. Once the duo made it home, they forgot one thing: Yoruichi's ramen, who was furious once she found out that they went out to eat without her, sending Asa to her room as she punished Naruto, one he would never forget. The end. Now we will see you in the next video.